Independent Police Oversight Authority. We have not had a single statement from that body. If they are not capable of doing the job, they should be disbanded.
We want to urge the President to prioritize the needs of Kenyans and to pursue what is good for all citizens, rein in on corruption, reduce opulence and unnecessary expenditure, and lead in keeping the rule of law.
While calling on an extensive probe into the killings by police, the religious leaders have directed their guns on the Inspector General of Police, Japheth Kome, whom they want to resign or be fired by the appointing authority.
We have not heard him speak, and we have not seen him. Yet, we have come here to mourn over 40 people who have been killed by his officers. We ask him to resign, or in the alternative, we ask the President to discharge him from his duties.
We have taken note of the great dissatisfaction of the Kenyan youth with the religious leaders. And on behalf of the church, we wish to let them know that we have taken note of this situation.
The leaders have also called for the dissolution of the entire cabinet as a means of rebooting President William Ruto's pre-election pact with Kenyans.
Now, the youth in the country have revived a new generational movement that mirrors in the 1990s generation of democracy activists to push the government to address governance issues affecting Kenyans today. What started as online activism by the youth pushing for change in governance of the country was quickly activated with Gen Zs occupying the streets and other key areas, and in no uncertain terms, change in the political space. And as Kenyans mark Saba Saba Day, the youth are now today honoring those who lost their lives and those recuperating in hospitals following 3 weeks of anti-government bill protest. And now, as our reporter Abdul Aziz Hashim now reports.
On the 7th of July 1990, the historic Saba Saba protest that birthed multi-party democracy and constitutional reforms were held. Young people, especially university students, led by their leaders, played a significant role in the fight for change, but those protests were largely overshadowed by the involvement of the political class. During the Saba Saba riots in 1990, elderly politicians like Masinde Muliru, together with Martin Shikuku and the Young Turks James Orengo, Gitobwe Manyara and Paul Muite drove around the city with thousands of young people demanding for multi-party politics, equity and a corrupt-free country. However, 34 years later, the spirit of Saba Saba is still alive. And just like in the 1990s, young people have been at the forefront in the push for better governance and an end to corruption and prudent use of public resources, among other issues. For the last 3 weeks, a vibrant online community of young people has stunned many within and without the country by taking the sole and individual responsibility, devoid of political affiliations, creed or tribe, to champion for change and a complete overhaul of the running of the government. So resolute has been their push that it has seen the president yielding to some of their demands.
And I have promised that I will be making changes. I know you have said that I should not make changes. I should clean the slate clean. But you see, you don't have the job I have. And there are many things that I have to do to be able to get things done. And it's quite something. But I have heard you, and I have heard the many Kenyans who have talked on this platform.
And in the spirit of Saba Saba, the youth came out in large numbers on Sunday. Donned in black attire, they came out to honor and celebrate dozens who lost their lives during and after the deadly protest witnessed across the country in the last 3 weeks. Police were deployed to ensure security within the city. The day was largely peaceful, a stark difference from the past 3 weeks leading to this day. Meanwhile, the CBD was alive with business up and running. Transport uninterrupted as these young people continue with their unyielding push they hang on to hope that the much needed change will be realized. And after the concert, the youths in their numbers flocked to the central business district at various bus termini as they awaited their buses to be ferried home. But under tight surveillance from the anti-riot police.
You know, one interesting thing about yesterday was that there was no single gunshot or tear gas canister that was thrown. Food for thought. Now, a section of leaders allied to Azimio La Umoja coalition have now commended the youth, now referred to as Gen Zs, for holding the government accountable. Led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, the leaders attributed the financial crisis in the country to high levels of corruption and wastage of public resources. They spoke in Meru during the Saba Saba Day feat.
The leaders who toured Meru to commemorate Saba Saba Day were led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. The leaders vowed to rally behind the Gen Z youth in holding the government accountable.
Inexplainable nepotism in this country. Additional to corruption, nepotism, tribalism. But the Gen Zs, congratulations, they have come up now with a country that we can say is getting detribalized. Because if you want to annoy the Gen Zs, you talk to them about your tribe. So this is a big achievement, and the days of transparency are ahead of us.
As Azimio, we want to assure them that we stand with them. Their cause is our cause.
Kalonzo called on the president to fast-track the appointment of IEBC commissioners.
IEBC Amendment Bill 2024, which William Ruto has promised to sign into law. We say that this should be done expeditiously on this Saba Saba Day so that we can have the process get underway of coming up as soon as possible with a new IEBC.
PNU party leader and former Meru Governor Peter Munya faulted the changes announced by the president, arguing they did little to address the cost of living.
The public will not relent. Smoke screens and cosmetic changes won't do anything. These young people are very educated. They are able to analyze issues. They have gone to the best schools. So a window dressing exercise will not satisfy them.
And ODM party leaders in Kwale County have pledged to oversight the executive and ensure the issues raised by the youth are fully implemented. Speaking during the issuance of NGAF equipment bursary and grants to over 90 groups, the leaders lauded Generation Z for demonstrating, saying this will help in improving governance.
Wacha tuwa appreciate wale vijana wa Kenya nzima. Jambo ambalo walikuwa wanalifanya lilikuja tu likaingiliwa na ushetani wa wakora, lakini vijana walikuwa wanafanya kile wanachojua ni sawa.
Na mtu yoyote ambaye alipiga yes ndiye alifanya wale watu 50 wakafa. Maana ungepiga no tusingekuwa na maandamano.
Now to other news now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is now accusing a section of government officials of a ploy to set up the president against the citizens. Gachagua says that even though the dust is yet to settle on the Finance Bill 2024 fiasco, some government officials want to start another war by interfering with the fight against illicit brew. Citing unnamed officials at Harambee House and the Ministry of Interior, Gachagua said that such interferences would hurt the public perception of the government by the public.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and his spouse Pastor Dorcas Rigathi on Sunday joined the faithful at Pefa Church in Kiamariga, Nyeri County. It is while here that the DP hit out at a section of government officials he said are adamant on undermining the government by interfering with key initiatives such as the war against illicit brew.
I heard that our local member of parliament has directed the security officers in Karatina, purporting on orders from above to reopen our bars. One, a member of parliament cannot instruct security officers.
Gachagua says that such interference is well crafted to undermine him.
And if you people at the Interior think that you want to interfere with this very successful program, so that maybe you undermine the Deputy President because he's the one who has been leading this war, you are effectively undermining President William Ruto and his administration. How do you sacrifice an entire generation, a whole population, because you have a scheme against a leader? And the problem of that leader being truthful and listening to the ground. Mimi hakuna makosa ingine nimefanya hata moja, ni hiyo tu kusema tusikize nini. Yeah, that's all. Let's listen to the people.
He has cautioned that such a move will cost the government and set the president up against the public.
We are just struggling to recover from the debacle of the finance bill. Why do you want to start another war with the people of Kenya? Saa hii ndio tunang'ang'ana kubembeleza wa Kenya watulie kwa sababu ya makasiriko ya mambo ya finance bill. Mr. President, if you allow overzealous officers at Harambee House with a political scheme to interfere with this war against illicit brew, those people, those officers will set you up against the people.
Kama vile nchi imesema hawataki second lady yawe na budget, na ni sawa, lakini kazi ya wavulana sitawacha. That is a vision I have. It is a passion I have for the boy child. I cannot stop because I started even before I was in the office.
Now to some sports now. National Rugby Sevens team finished 6th in the second edition of the Rugby Africa Cup tournament, which ended yesterday at the Labo Danais Sports Club in Mauritius. I hope I got it right. Now, the team coached by Luis Kisia lost 21-12 to Burkina Faso in the 5th place final, having booked a place in the finals with a 25 win over Zambia in the semis. And now they were relegated to the classification matches after being beaten 10-7 by Zimbabwe in the main cup quarter-final match. The tournament was unavailable for Kenya Sevens as it allowed the country to build a depth ahead of the senior team. Should just return to the Sevens World Series next year. Uganda defeated South Africa 2017 in the final match to win this year's title. Madagascar and South Africa finished second and third with 18 and 16 points, respectively.
Then Saba Saba with the inside pass. Referee Elvis Olukusi gets it away. Kenya, and they will score. It is Harmony Wamalwa.
All right, we are done with the news and sports. Thank you so much for joining us. But before we wrap it up, just a reminder that we are all set here in studio. Vivian and Mike are also on standby. Msichana Wandegwa, good morning.
Good morning, Victor.
And Mikwi, the gentleman from the Central.
Yes. Good morning. How are you doing? How was your weekend?
So far, so good.
Yes.
How are you doing? Were you at the Uhuru Gardens?
It was Uhuru Park.
It was
Uhuru Park,
Park,
yes.
Actually, yes.
Were you there?
Were you there? No, all of you.
Yeah.
Who was there?
I did manage to go.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't there.
I also didn't manage to go, but I followed the proceedings via Twitter, and yeah, I saw what was happening. And actually, it speaks a lot as to how youths are embracing national issues and actually changing the conversation and appreciating that they have what it takes to contribute to what is happening in the country.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely, and it's a good thing.
Yes.
And also over the weekend, we cannot fail to mention that our track stars are doing us proud.
Yes.
You know, we had Ferdinand Omanyala clinching the 100 meters race at the FBK Games, and then the icing on cake, Faith Kipyegon.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting.
She broke her own world record at a record time of 3 minutes.
Who does that? Only
49
Faith.
seconds.
Only
I know.
Only Faith can do that.
Yeah.
Yes, only she can do that. Set a world record.
Yes.
And then come back to break it.
And break it yet again. And she said they wait for her, you know, for the Olympics. She's coming to do the same thing. She is working on that.
Can we just clap for Faith?
Yes,
for that?
she deserves it.
She deserves it.
She deserves
Absolutely.
it. And,
it's no brainer.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, love to see it, love to see it. Now, as we get this show on the road, after the political segment, I will be having a conversation on dealing with fake news on the internet. This is something that we really need to look at, especially during this time, you know, the moment that we are in right now as a country. And for that conversation, I will be joined by one John Mutunga, who is the founder, Cyber Pro Global, as well as Samuel Karaoke, who is the EduTech manager at Cyber Pro. And after that conversation, today being a Monday, it is a Transformative Leaders Monday. We have a segment on that. And our transformative leader of the day will be Dr. John Mukundi, who is the director at Achievers College. You definitely want to stay in for those, to stay tuned for those two conversations. Mike, I don't know what you have on our political segment today.
On the political segment, a lot is happening, and one of the things that actually has also been highlighted in the news is the fact that the president is yet to sign on the IEBC bill, which will give us a fully constituted electoral agency. Questions have emerged about that, and also given the Deputy President has also said some people within government are sabotaging his efforts in the war against illicit breeds. And also we'll be looking at what is being reported by our local dailies, so you want to tune in for that. And in studio, I'll be joined by Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who is a youth UDA league, and also Dr. Evelyn Ogendo, political analyst, Gibson Gisore, who is also an advocate of the High Court, and also Ireri Mwathi, who is a political analyst. It's a full house panel, so you want to tune into that conversation, which is coming right up next.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Yesterday was World Kiswahili Day. I have a question, but don't answer. Mike,
yes.
Vivian, how do you call rainbow in Kiswahili? Have a good morning. Have a good morning. I'm Victor Olo.
I never heard the music so sweet. I repeat.
Wagwan, me brethren, big things are going. Remember, each and every Monday we have to shell down the place with nothing but the best of smooth way the vibes in your favorite station. You know these things, man.
Alafu kila Tuesday, kata simu tupo side, giving you Kenyan music from the 254.
And of course, you can spice up your Wednesday by enjoying blazing hot hip hop and R&B jams.
we don't got no label. She say she want bottles.
Vibes and vibes as we go all across Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, all the way to Tanzania to give you nothing but the best on Afro Thursday. Make sure you make a date with us each and every single Friday with me, DJ_Liza Diva,
DJ Cold,
and me, Wanjiko. This is Club One Extra.
Unanifanya nisikie kunongwa Hatija ai Mani especially ukisonga.
Wow! Congratulations, Atito. You know, I've always wanted to put on nanga, put on makeup. You know, things like those.
Very good thing. Hey, Atito, my friend. I thought you'll never find love after that idiot, Joanne.
Please leave Jabel out of this.
Okay, now I get this. You are married and you still have unresolved issues.
Julia, read me a role, okay? Laugh if you must. Laugh, eh? Ato kitaka kupiga duru. Piga. Just don't let me see a fool in front of me.
Kinyanju, who said I'm laughing? Okay, you people are so unfair. Why does everybody think that I do not care what happened to you guys?
Guess who the celebrity is? Atito.
Not yet, teacher.
From an early age, Esther Murugi always aspired to be something great, something that would see her leave Githiro village in Nyeri and move away from the already beaten paths that those came before her trod. Murugi was first introduced to education at the Githiro Primary School before joining Highlands Secondary School, today Moi Girls Eldoret, for her secondary education. She then enrolled at the University of Nairobi in 1973 for a land economics degree course. At the time, land economics was perceived a preserve of men. Records from the University of Nairobi show her class of 40 only had 2 female students. Upon her graduation after 4 years, Murugi was quickly absorbed into the public sector, joining the Ministry of Lands as a lands officer in 1977. She left public service only to return years later. When the second multi-party elections came around in 1997, she threw her heart into the ring. She lost to Wanyeri Kihoro. In 2002, she contested the Nyeri Town parliamentary seat again. Peter Gishahi Moreithi beat her to the ticket and won the seat in a landslide victory. Although she lost, Murugi had been a vocal campaigner for National Rainbow Coalition's candidate Mwai Kibaki in the 2002 general election. She was no longer an unknown entity in Nyeri Town. Even after Kibaki's successful bid, she remained within earshot of the president. And in the following 2007 general election, Murugi had already cemented herself as a reliable MP. In 2007, Murugi became third-time lucky and made it to Parliament. Just 4 months after her election, she was named Minister for Gender and Children's Affairs. She was named a Deputy National Women Leader at Party of National Unity, PNU. While she ran her business, Murugi also worked for an international non-governmental organization that focused on the welfare of women and children. This not only cemented her grassroots connection, but played a crucial role in providing first-hand knowledge of the needs of the category of citizens the Gender and Children's Affairs Ministry was created to serve. While at the Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs, Murugi was credited with institutionalizing the creation of a database of women professionals and of women who wish to vie for political positions. Midway through President Kibaki's second term, Murugi was moved to another service-oriented ministry, special programs. In 2011, Kenya suffered one of the worst droughts in its history. The resulting famine claimed thousands of human lives, yet there seemed to be a very muted response from government on the matter. When the international community started to mount pressure on the government to do more, Murugi came out guns blazing, defending the position of the state. At the time, critics said the administration had failed to prepare for a possible drought or famine despite repeated warnings. Murugi, standing by her government, denied the charge. In 2013, Murugi was re-elected as Nyeri Town Member of Parliament. In 2017, she lost the Nyeri Town seat after serving for 2 terms. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet. John Musembi Kyalo was born in 1931 in Kisakini village, Kasinga, in what was Iveti South constituency of Machakos district. He went to Kasinga and Ngelani primary schools and later joined Kaba High School in Machakos before proceeding to India for a degree in business administration. Upon returning to Kenya, he joined the provincial administration in the office of the president and served as a district officer before he was promoted to district commissioner, working in several districts across the country. Kyalo then left provincial administration upon appointment as a director in the Department of Immigration. Kyalo reached his pinnacle in the civil service in 1970 when he was appointed as permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health. Barely 4 years later, Kyalo quit the civil service for politics but failed to wrestle the Iveti North parliamentary seat from Aaron Mutunga. His bid for the seat in the subsequent 1979 general election and in the 1983 snap polls flopped too. Kyalo's third stab at a parliamentary seat finally bore fruit in the 1988 general election, where he clinched the newly created Machakos Town constituency and retained it in the 1992 polls. He was then appointed Minister for Health, and during the 3 years he held that portfolio, he hosted President Moi at several fundraisers in aid of schools and churches in Machakos Town constituency, signaling their close ties. As Health Minister, Kyalo is credited with expanding hospitals and establishing new ones across the country. He was, however, accused of being the mastermind in the infamous Makueni-Mukurweini mix-up, where he allegedly tricked out Mukurweini in Nyeri district of a multi-million shilling hospital that he instead put up in Makueni in his native Machakos district. 3 years into his appointment as Minister for Health, however, Kyalo lost his voice and was diagnosed with throat cancer, which led to his death in 1995. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet.
Right, welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. This is Eye on Politics. My name is Mike Migwe, and today we are going to look at various aspects within the political landscape within the country, and my guests are already in studio. I'm joined by Wakili Gibson Gisore, who is also an advocate of the High Court and a political analyst. Karibu sana. And also Dr. Evelyn Ogendo, who is a political analyst. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And also Ireri Mwathi, who is a political analyst. Karibu sana.
Morning, Kia.
And also Kipruto Arab Kirwa, who is a UDA Youth League.
Thank you.
Asante sana for making time. Yes. Let me start with you. Generally, what do you think, has the youth fully changed the conversation within the country? Let me start with you, Akili.
Thank you so much. My thoughts are that the youth have really taken a different shape of politics in this country. Given that for the longest you've never had such a serious conversation being discussed in all quarters. Kenya has been trending internationally, and nothing else, just for the Gen Z's change of ideology. They have really sworn that they need to see a better Kenya for their future, and I think they are determined to see that through. We have seen the president and the government also change tack, and they have been able to succumb to some of the provisions or the arguments which Gen Z is bringing forth, which has never been the case. The youth have largely been aloof, if I may say that. They have been distant from politics because they believe that that is a domain for the elderly people who are in their 40s plus. I mean, you go by the number of politicians. Previously, we had very many numbers of people between 50, 60, 70, even others 80. Sometimes even, I think we had very senior politicians who were past 80. So this time round, we are seeing a very invigorated youth who are determined to take the course of politics in this country, and they have sworn that they are going to see a Kenya which they want to live in. I mean, in sustainable development, because there's a principle called intergenerational. I think they have taken the cue from the previous generations, and theirs has been, I think, a notch higher. We had the youth previously perform very critical roles in terms of politics discourse in this country. We had the K92, of course, who were pro-government, but then we had on the other side the Muites, the Railas in 1992, who were also championing for a new course when we amended Section 2A, which also pushed Moi to change something which was very critical, because Kenya, from 1966, Kenya had been a single-party state till multi-party came. So that was also a significant battle by the youth, and of course a mix of old politicians. But there was also the role of the youth in that. We had subsequent issues of Saba Saba. We had the 1997 IPPG also, which was led by the then opposition, which also led to some minimum amendments to the constitution to allow transparency in transparency in terms of elections. So we have had these discourses. We had also a group of young men who participated in coming up with the constitution, especially young lawyers. Played a critical role in terms of drafting the Constitution 2010, which also was another liberation. So during the Uhuru era is when maybe the youth, we didn't see very much of that in the era of politics, given that we already had a new Constitution. Now the only thing was championing. And you know, mostly the championing is done by NGOs, or non-government organizations, which largely in the Uhuru era, we saw emasculation of the same. So there was not very, till the president, I think the other day, assented to the bill which allows for NGOs to operate freely, which we need to thank him for, because that's opening up the political space to everyone, and the people can be able to participate professionally. you do realize we're going to have, there's likely to be a challenge, especially when you are engaging the masses generally, because sometimes the discourse might go different directions. The agendas could be there, but channeling them to make political policies sometimes can be a problem.
Yes.
So if you get organizations or NGOs which are well organized in the space of youth, then they can be able to be the people who are going to bear the statement and be able to lead the discussion. So that because the youth largely from where I stand is they felt that nobody's speaking for them.
Yes.
Because largely the space of where people used to speak for them does not exist. Another thing, Kenya has also played a very critical role in having a youth which is very enlightened. You remember the investments from the free primary education when Kibaki came into power. Then we had, of course, the free secondary during the Uhuru era largely. And then universities entrance from the Kibaki era has also been voluminous. So that leads to, or brings to forth a lot of enlightened young Kenyans who are largely unemployed. And especially the economy should be growing in the same tandem with the youth, but it's not. Actually, we're making backward slides. And that, of course, leads to very enlightened people, no jobs, who only have their phones, and then they can just get into social spaces and then start to champion some causes they believe in. And that has really done something. And I mean, they have inspired a lot of people across the continent and even the world.
Yes.
And I mean, that's something I would want to say that Kenyans have stood out for.
Thank you, thank you. Let me come to you, Kipruto, because you are in the youth league within UDA. What do you make of the kind of conversation that is going on right now as a result of the agitations by the youth?
First, thank you for having me here. One of the things that I tend to agree with is that there is a change in conversation. It's no longer about where I come from, who I am, or where I'm going. Martin Luther King once said he had a dream of a country where his kids were going to be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So we're coming to times where the conversation had already changed. In 2022, remember in the run-up to 2022 general election, there was a change in conversation. It was between the have-nots and the haves. Such that in a way, this is something that is gradual. It started post-PPI era. And the originator of this conversation is none other than President William Ruto. So whatever he's witnessing right now is the one who started it. And youths are raising genuine concerns. Because the issue of unemployment in this country, you have people graduating from the universities, they have nowhere to go get jobs. And at the same time, the state of the economy is declining. In the same sense, you see politicians in bed with the church, whereby they go and sanitize the money, which are the proceeds of corruption in church. So what Gen Zs, whereby I'm a proud member, have done in this country for the past few days, is that, one, there has been a change in the conversation that going into the future in the next general election in 2027, you might see even 70% of the National Assembly and the Senate youths being elected. Going into the future, we are going to see the throning of politicians from the churches. Because one, you cannot be able to bring the proceeds of corruption in the name of Arambe to the church, and the church leadership who are supposed to call out the same crimes of corruption are clapping because you took money to church. So one of the things that I agree with the Gen Zs is that we need to have a national dialogue, not one like PPI or for changing the constitution. We need to have a national dialogue that are we going to get opportunities for these youths? And we credit these changes to the literature that we have been fed with. Personally, when I was in high school, I studied some books in literature in Kiswahili known as tumbo lisiloshiba na didi nyingine. And I saw the Gen Z's protesters in Mandamano. They were drawing a picture of a popular government official. Yes. I don't want to mention his name. And they say he's the one in tumbo lisiloshiba. You read others like Kigogo by Pauline Care. You read others like Petrol in the City. So there are a lot of literature. So whenever what they were seeing happening in those books is what they are witnessing right now. Because whereby politicians have had a culture of giving you handouts so that you can be able to become silent. You go to the ground right now, the MPs have run away because of the same youth. So these are things we credit President Kibaki for, giving us free education, and of course the introduction of literature. We credit the liberators who came up with the 2010 constitution, because if we were operating in the last constitution, it could be something different. But I don't want the Azimio coalition and the opposition to take credit of Gen Z Mandamano. I have seen in your news, you will see Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka in Meru is speaking proudly of Gen Zs. He is part of the mess in this country. He was the vice president post-2008. The same thing with Raila Odinga, the same thing with Eugene Wamalwa, the same thing with Peter Munya. He was in the last government. So by the time, the good thing about Gen Zs is that we are leaderless. So by the time we disassociate ourselves from the comments of people like Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, let them focus. One of the good things that we have achieved is that the opposition has now become useless in this country. We the citizens, we the people, are the ones coming up to have the conversation. So the opposition has become useless in the country, and it's a good trajectory, because I don't see the use of opposition anyway. They have been there since 1990s, and nothing much has been happening. But then, as Gen Zs, I want me to advise my fellow Gen Zs. We the people are the supreme. We have power. Article 1, Clause 1 says, sovereignty belongs to the people. But then we have self-imposed limitations that it shall only be exercised in a manner that is in accordance with the Constitution. So in as much as we agitate for our what we feel it's our right, one of the things that I want to urge all of us, let's get ourselves within the confines of the Constitution, and then we have the conversation going forward.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Daktari, are we having a honest conversation as at now, as a country?
I think the only people who are very honest are the Gen Zs. And I would say right now the conversation that is going on, I don't think that the narrative has changed. The narrative, it's on the way changing. So there are 1-2 people who are supposed to patch it up. And one thing that I'm not liking too much is other leaders taking up and taking advantage of what the movement of the Gen Z and trying to dilute it, like also using their activities to empty their frustrations and to pile up pressure on the president. Personally, I'm from opposition, but right now I'm not speaking, I'm speaking like a leaderless mom. I'm a mother to Gen Z. And what we are seeing, mtoto wa nyoka ni nyoka, are you seeing? Yeah. You know, these children, they are not on their own. They have mothers, they have fathers, wherever they are. They have mothers, and as mothers, we feel what they are feeling. It's only that we cannot go to the streets with our children. But all Kenyans are oppressed. All Kenyans need answers to so many things. And when leaders are taking advantage of this, we should be solution-based. Not like we are seeing a situation, so we are using it as a platform to also bring on board our leadership frustrations from other quarters, or quote-unquote, trying to solve political wars or qualms with the president. What is going on in the country right now, it is as a result of historical injustices. Did not start with the president. The president has been in power for 2 years, but he's been part of this government from 10 years back, so plus the 12 he was the full boss. And then when he moved on board, all these leaders trying to look like they want to add fuel into these young people.
Yes.
They should instead join the president.
Yes.
And I would like to also talk about the deputy president. This is not the time to tell us about the Mount Kenya illicit brew. It is so untimely. And then the biggest question is, I would like to speak here not as somebody who is I like to speak like somebody who is neutral.
Yes.
I am not for or against. What I want is a solution. Like, what are these kids trying to say? That they don't have jobs?
Yes.
This is not the time to tell us about illicit brews in Mount Kenya.
Yes.
Kenya is not made of Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
We have so many people I come from Kisii County. Our kids are busy getting drunk. The question is, why are they preferring to take the illicit brew? One is because it is cheap. Two is because that is what is available within their reach. And why is it happening? They have no jobs. So he should leave that platform and join the president in terms of trying to provide solutions to what is happening to this country.
Thank you.
Not looking like, I'd like to add something also, please. 2 minutes.
Just, I want to give Muithi a chance to speak before we go on a break.
Connected to hapo kwa hiyo illicit.
Before we go on a break. 1 second.
Okay. And what I'm saying, show me your friends, I tell you who you are.
Exactly.
Right now, what the president is going through and piling up a lot of pressure,
yes.
It is because of the advice he's getting from those people around him. And the president is working on what they are telling him. Things on the ground are quite different. I don't think those friends who are claiming to be president, their friends to the president, are really his friends. They should get out of that comfort zone and know this narrative has changed.
Yes.
So that they can join him to provide solutions, not to start saying, oh, the president, I know we are doing this to the president to get away with it.
Yeah.
No, we are not fighting any illicit drugs, illicit, I don't know what, alcohol this time. We are fighting how can our children get jobs? How can we have the bloated system of education unblotted?
Yes. All right. We are going to take a short break, but I'll come back and start with Muithi because I want to hear your views on that. But we'll do that after the short break, as we also look at what is happening or is being reported in our local dailies. Don't go too far.
Unajua, token mita yako inahitaji system update. Ni rahisi na ni free. Ukipata ujumbe kutoka Kenya Power, yani SMS, weka kodi ya kwanza kureset, alafu weke kodi ya pili kuupdate ili token mita yako iendelee kufanya kazi kama kawaida. Update token mita yako. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Kenya Power and Lighting Company.
Wow! Congratulations, Atito. You know, I've always wanted to put on nanga, put on makeup. You know, things like those.
Very good thing. Atito, my friend. I thought you'll never find love after that idiot, Joanne.
Please leave Jabel out of this.
Okay, now I get this. You are married and you still have unresolved issues.
Julia, read me a Rono, okay? Laugh if you must. Laugh, Ato kitaka kupiga duru. Piga. Just don't let me see a fool in front of me.
Kinyanju, who said I'm laughing? Okay, you people are so unfair. Why does everybody think that I do not care what happened to you guys?
Guess who the celebrity is? Atito.
Not yet, teacher.
36 minutes past the hour. This is Eye on Politics here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe. And before we went on a break, I wanted Ireri Mwathi to contribute on this aspect of this conversation that the Gen Z have started within the country. What do you think of it?
Thank you, Mike, and Fiona. I look at it in a manner that this conversation is going to bring transformative change, just like others have brought, like when we were agitating for the change of the constitution, when we were agitating for the change of the one-party system, when our forefathers were bringing independence into this. Because even the president himself admitted that it will no longer be a business as usual. So whatever the agencies have really done will really is a pillar or an area that even the future generations will be able to look at as a place where we made about turn just for the better. I'm looking into a situation where nepotism will no longer be the order of the day, where people are going to get positions not depending on who they know, but depending on what they know. Because the Gen Zs are saying, look at, for example, the cabinet we have today. Is it the best that we have? Is it the best? Are those the best brains that can move Kenya forward? Look at what is happening to those people who are close to the president. Yeah. Because if you are close to power, you should behave in a certain manner that portrays or shows that kind of power. Those who are close to power, when they go bragging and maybe showing their extravagant lifestyles, that will no longer be the order of the day, which has been there, and even the powers close to that were okay with it. Yeah. That will no longer be the order of the day. So what the Gen Zs have done will really bring change in actually almost every sector in our of the Kenya we have today. So we are also looking at the issue where the independence of different governance systems are strengthened. Our judiciary, our legislature, our executive, I'm looking at the independence, because there before the legislature has been controlled, maybe by the government, or rather the executive, such that whatever happens to the Senate, whatever happens to the Parliament, is what maybe the executive want. We saw just the other day the legislature saying, thank you, you have given us an addition of the salary, but you can keep it. That is as a result of the Gen Z's conversation. So we have seen there before the executive bringing a hand in the Parliament and the Senate, such that even if there is a motion of maybe impeachment, whoever the executive want impeached will be impeached. Whoever the executive want saved will be saved. Whichever bill that the executive want passed will be passed. Whatever bill that the executive want rejected will be rejected. It will no longer be like that again, because the executive forced the finance bill to be passed. And actually, this is what triggered even more anger to the Gen Z when it was passed hurriedly, when they were in the street saying this bill is wrong. But the executive had a hand of saying, let's pass it. When it was passed, we saw what happened, and the president then to return it. Just because the Gen Zs have brought in a new change, and this is change for the better. All right. I applaud them.
All right. Now let's take a look at what is making headlines in our local dailies, and I will start with the Standard. To fire or keep, Ruto's cabinet dilemma. President William Ruto faces probably the biggest test of his presidency on who to fire from cabinet in a government where loyalty precedes any other qualification. Ruto faces Herculean task of letting go of his friends. Wakili, what do you make of this headline?
I mean, The decision, the president has a decision to make. And just to say a little more on that, you see, we have a political mindset which has been there since the 60s. It has been handed down. Whoever comes the president, I think, say for Kibaki, who really stood out and did things differently, and we saw a great change. For example, Kibaki implemented very nice policies that we are not going to borrow. Just out of the blues, we are not going to borrow. If we are borrowing for a specific project. But here we borrow even to take tea. So some of those things are the things which are leading us to where we are. Actually, sometimes we borrow and we never know where the money goes. There was a rumor that the Eurobond actually never arrived in Kenya. So, but we have paid for the same. So you know that leaves a very huge gap. Whatever Kibaki borrowed for, we can see Thika Road, we can see other projects and roads across the country, because when he took over, the roads were totally dilapidated. So there needs to be a policy. I want to argue with the Dr. point that we have enough money which can feed Kenyans, can do everything that Kenya is borrowing to do. But we just need clear policies on the same and a goodwill from government. Once government makes a decision, then we can be able to do it. Secondly, I would want to say that the political mindset we have is one which has been handed over. But now we have a very huge population for young people who are constituting close to 60% of the population, who are well landed than any other generation has ever been landed in this country. They are enlightened. And then the political world space is becoming a global village in terms of exchange of best ideas. So borrowing from the best international practices and then looking down on your country, you wonder, why am I suffering and people elsewhere are enjoying? And you hear the president has appointed, or in cabinet there sits somebody who has less papers or who never went to school, to say, to a level that he needs to fit into that docket. And then that not being the case, you continuously see very wrong decisions being made. That inspires a thinking in society that, you know, we have a problem. Who is going to sort it? Our parents can't solve it. But our parents are done. Once they finish fooling us, they are now. So what do? Let's take up the course and be able to steer the country to the next level. The revolution we are seeing in Kenya, or the change we are seeing in Kenya, if I may use that term, is one which has happened all over the world. There comes a time a generation decides to take the course of their future life into their own hands. And that's what is happening in Kenya, and I like the conversation. What we need to do is to steer the conversation towards the right place, because it can become a precipice if it's not well managed. Because at some point we can have a country which has already gone to the dogs, especially with the looting which has started, and the kind of now when politics comes in, everything becomes a mess. We can take the example of Sudan, where everything is almost going south because we don't have a proper leadership. People are fighting for power. The kind of demonstrations we have seen are akin to what happened in Egypt before, to Hosni Mubarak, who had been in power for over 40 years. So that discourse went well till the process where they removed him, and then it went south. For around 10 years, till the current president came to take power, and he has been able to steer Egypt back to the line. But Egypt is also dealing with a myriad of challenges which came as a result of that. So we need to be very careful as Kenyans and be able to decide, how do we take this conversation forward? My advice would be, let government be able to have inclusive policies. Policies which are transparent, policies which are pro-youth, because we are developing the country today for the youth of tomorrow.
Thank you.
So that we can be able to get out of this particular problem.
Thank you. Mr. Ireri, what do you make of this headline where to fire or to keep? Because there's a chance where the president will have to balance between national interests and political interests.
Thank you for the question. According to me, I think it's a good opportunity for the president to make changes in his government. And I'm optimistic that he is doing it soon. Because I think when this government was formed, it was basically more of rewarding. Rewarding those people who assisted me in getting votes, rewarding people who are my long-time friends, rewarding people who we have done 1, 2, 3 together. And I think 2 years are enough for the rewards. So they should be contented with that. And now the government, the president should look at people who will assist him get his connection back with the people, with the community. Because right now there's a big disconnect. After what Gen Z did, there's a big disconnect between the president and the Mama Boga and the Boda Boda who brought him to power. And noting that he went to power as a result of bottom up. That means bringing the person down. Those who are down, majority of them are the Gen Zs who have good papers but no jobs. It is the high time that he brings good brains in his cabinet, brains that will increase, will assist him, maybe create jobs for these Gen Zs, will assist him attract the foreign investors, will assist him maybe know what to do with the current economy, which is not going on well. So if the president want a safe ride, and a good ride in the next 2 or so years, I think he has no option but do something into his cabinet, do something into his advisors, and as he said, let it not be a business as usual.
Daktari, you have to agree that some of the CSs played a very vital role in the election of President William Ruto. How do you see the president handling this?
You know, from time immemorial, like the president rewards the people around him during the election because, quote unquote, you are people. Are you saying? There's that thing that has been happening not only with President Ruto, it has happened with President Uhuru, it has happened partly with Kibaki, but I think the setup, I think that way goes overboard. And my thinking is to change this narrative to suit everyone, to suit the president and to suit the people who are going to work around not only the presidency, but those people are going to work around the members of parliament, the governors. I think when they are doing their campaign thing, there's this over-promising thing, you know, like the bottom-up narrative, the hustler narrative. It's got so many people on board, and now I think it's as a result of their frustration that, and you see the government can be this, it's not everyone can fit in. So according to that cabinet, according to me, any president should employ somebody according to qualification, because you get me from food and nutrition, and then let's say you give me, I'm not saying the one who is there, that's what he's doing. Let's say you take me to ICT. I have not trained, I have not had an opportunity to exercise what I trained, let's say in campus or something else. So that one makes the whole system be bloated.
So there's
currently,
a mismatch.
It is a serious mismatch. And then when it comes to that, and then it is based on loyalty, I gave you this seat. If there is a place somebody can change this narrative in that, can we get experts in these ministries? If you are not qualified to be the minister for, and then you are put in serious dockets. You know, there are serious dockets. I do not want to mention them because those ministers will start thinking of anything personal with them, but have nothing personal with them. You have to be relevant to the ministry you are leading. You have to be relevant, like, you know, most ministries, the people who are active are the PSS, who are the accounting officers. The ministers, some of them are just rubber stamps who are there, who are just be rewarded because they were rewarded because of the part they played during the 2022 election. If that narrative can change, not with my friend, because this is also costing him his seat. And you see this idea of our young people, I like to persuade them to get what I'm telling them. This thing of Ruto must go, is it going to solve anything? Because the Ruto must go means deputy president is going to be the president. Are they aware of that? Are they going to embrace that? That's according to the Constitution, the 2010 Constitution. So I'm saying as we vouch ahead, let us be solution-based. Let us be like, what are we trying to solve and how far is it? No, like now the finance bill has been dropped. The biggest question in the House should be, what next that comes from the office of the president, so that people are not guessing, so that people are not adding the agitation. And then secondly, the first, second, I don't know, and third lady, the budget has been withdrawn. The big question should be by the Gen Z, where is that money going to be allocated? And then the other part is, as we speak right now, there are those medical interns who are still at home. You know, they should be categorical in like, what are we solving, not what are we bringing up? Because what we are experiencing right now is a bust out. It's a bloated system. So look the way like the Ministry of Education, they reduced the pass grade from, it used to be B+ by our time, B+ B to university. They reduced it to accommodate more to the university. And that happened. And then there are so many satellite universities to serve these children from where they are. And then they were told education is the key to success. This narrative, haijatoka hapa, however much you are telling them, do business, do this. Where is the capital? They're going to use it. And then they transit. Our system reaches a place, it is bloated. You move from here, you are being told, you get these marks, you're going to the national school A, B, C, D, sub-county school A, B, C, D. From there, you're going to this university to do this course. Are you seeing? And then from there, you're not telling this child, where am I going? And blot the system. If you bring systems and then you want them to work for the people, not against the people. So that's why we have so many educated children outside here. They have the knowledge, they have nowhere to take it. And then the thing of... and then when we are diluting, the same system is diluting these degrees, this water and what have you. Well, we used to have systems. You have a certificate in a certain course. You are earning more, I'm earning more than a degree student. These children are working in private institutions and they are being paid mediocre amounts. And they have no one to complain to. They will not complain. They will work because the country has no jobs. What reason do you have to encourage somebody who has a certificate to work hard and have a diploma, to work hard and have a degree, to work hard and have a PhD? Because the system does not recognize that part. And that is what we like our system to recognize. Any system that is not recognizing, like in education, education right now, you don't even know how much is being paid, how much, big amounts are being told, this has been waived, this has been waived. What they don't understand, these children, what we don't understand is, this amount you wanaambiwa according to your families. Why don't you have something uniform the way it has been happening and there was no noise? No, we don't understand how much money, we don't understand a private university, you don't understand a public university, because even a public university, you are paying even more for hostels. You don't even know how those hostels are being allocated. Our children are living with families who are husband and wives. They are seeing all problems. So before he becomes a wife, she becomes a wife, or before he becomes a husband, he's already seen full-blown domestics. So what are we doing? What generation are we bringing up? What legacy are we giving our children?
All right. Kipruto, how do you see the president handling this? And are we going to see people who are qualified to handle certain ministry or all ministries?
First of all, I will want to reason and think about what are the qualifications to become a cabinet secretary. One, it's not stipulated in our constitution. Two, president is, if you study the politics of President William Ruto, is a student of Machiavellian School of Political Science, which means for him to maintain his ground, he needs to reward the loyal soldiers. But the biggest challenge is not even in the cabinet secretaries we have. The biggest challenge is the mismatch in the institution of the presidency, whereby you have a situation whereby the country is in a national crisis, like the other day, the president is addressing the nation from State House, Nairobi. His deputy speaks of the president in Mombasa. What kind of, I think also some officials in government should be taken through classes on organizational behavior. You don't have to speak after your boss has spoken. And you are the deputy president, Wakili can agree with me here. The oath you took before the people of Kenya can be used against you. And that you're the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. From Monday to Sunday, you are working around the mountain. somewhere in Wamunyoro, you know, I really don't reason well with the deputy president. Kindly, you are the one who is supposed to be by your boss when there is a crisis in the country.
But what about the aspect of CSS?
The aspect of the CSS, personally, because I voted in 2022, is my personal opinion. Yes. I don't have social contract with people like CS Machogu, people like CS Dwale. I have social contract with the president. So whatever is going to decide, what I can just say, because I'm just a citizen like anyone, is that kindly the president reduce the number of ministries. But whoever you're going to appoint doesn't matter. Your legacy is going to stand the same. Another challenge that we have with the President William Ruto, the history serves us well. Jomo Kenyatta became the president until 1978 peacefully. He crushed his opponents, like Honorable Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, may so rest in peace. When Nyayo came into power, the same faceless individuals emerged, trying to destabilize from the coup of 1982 and joining now the people who had goodwill in 1992 for multi-party politics. They infiltrated the multi-party protest. The same faceless individuals. When Kibaki took over power, the same people rested because one of their own was in power. The same thing with President Uhuru Kenyatta, they rested. So whatever we're seeing now is not something that is new. Even if we are young enough, we can see that the history repeats itself. And that is why I've always said the president should interrogate his house, starting with his own deputy. And on the issue of, earlier on, Wakili spoke about the operation of the NGOs. Wakili, are you aware that there are some NGOs that thrive in anarchy? And because they thrive in anarchy, they were pushing for the same bill to be ascended into law so that whenever there is protest like the one for Genesis and Finance Bill, they now come in and request for finances from their sponsors that we want to assist people of Kenya. So I think also we need to emasculate these NGOs once again. We are not going to lose a state to go the direction of where our neighbors have gone. Just a second. We are not going to go the direction where some of our neighbors have gone because of some few individuals who have selfish interest. And as I end on this, as Gensis, we cannot be infiltrated by people who fail to convince even their fathers to vote no in the finance bill. Somebody, as I end, somebody's father voted yes in the finance bill, but he has been active in Twitter trying to make sure that the agencies are out to destabilize government. So, as I end, I am going to say this, that the president kindly reorganize your cabinet, interrogate the people in your house, whether or not they are genuine, because some people want your downfall for political mileage.
All right. Mr. Ireri, are we going to see a change in the presidential circle, given the changes that are looming in government?
That is expected, and definitely, given the situation, there must be, there ought to be a change, a big change in that matter. Just because for things to learn, and for the country to go back to its peaceful nature that we have enjoyed before, without these demos each and every day. One of the requests, actually not a request, one of the requirements, what the agencies are saying that the way the government around the president is, there has to be a total change. We expect that if things have to move on. And especially, we have already seen some of his friends, some of the friends around that trying to change what they are doing. We have seen some of the cabinet secretaries, some of the senior officers in government trying to align themselves as per the requirements of the Gen Z. So definitely we expect a change. What I know, the president, the big question is, whom do I touch, whom do I leave? Given that, apart from the Gen Zs, us and those who are in the older generation, and especially those who are in government, they are more on the who is my friend. They are more on where does he come from. They are more on the regional balance. But the Gen Zs do not know the tribe. They are tribeless. Some of them don't even know their mother tongue. They are jobless. They have nothing to protect. They have no job to protect. They have no money. What they are getting is from their parents. And that's why they are saying, I tend to believe also, they are telling their parents, let us go and do this for you. We know you have done this much, but you are not able to achieve. Let us go there and continue, or rather ensure that you come out of this burden which you are in. So I'm seeing the president bringing in brains which you'll be able to, because at the end of the day, it is a matter of looking at the governance issues. What do I do? What do I put in place to ensure that things move smoothly? Just like one of the speakers has said, we have enough money in this country. The president himself told us, after consolidating the tax collection system, such that the accounts are collected from the one source, he was telling us there are areas where you are getting more than 10 times what was being collected there before. So where we should be seeing the services being 10 times or rather increasing. But what is happening is money is there, but then we are not seeing where it's going. That's what the Gen Zs are saying. They're saying we should see value for the taxes that our parents are paying. We should be able to see things moving in a manner that what is corrected and what is seen, the services that the government is offering, we should see the match. Unlike what is happening, pressing more on the taxes, but when I go to the hospital, there's no medication. When I go to school, I have to pay more than even I was paying before, just like Dr. said. The current system of university funding is actually not even understandable. We have gone back to days when we were moving with WhatsApp group and Arabs for university education, just because somebody who cannot afford is being put in a level of the son of a cabinet secretary. Whatever they use, there is no transparency. There is no transparency in this kind of funding. These are the people who are on the streets. So we are likely to see the government bringing in brains which will assist come out of this quagmire.
All right. All right. Now let's cross over to the Daily Nation and look at what they are reporting on the front page. Inside MP's plot to grab state tenders, the Senate has given public officers, that is MPs, governors, CSs, PSs, and parastatal chiefs, a free pass to openly bag government contracts after dismantling a proposed law to curb conflict of interest. Wakili, this bill has brought about quite a conversation. What do you make of it?
Yes, and that is a recipe for disaster. I think if Gen Zs were serious, that is also their next war should be able to be concentrating around that. That also is playing, if we play the clip backwards in the, I think either in the 70s or either in the 70s, I would want to imagine, there was a commission which was under the Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's cabinet, and a proposal was given that there's no problem public servants participating in business. And that is why politics has gone to the dogs the way it has. If we separate money from politics, Kenya will be a very safe and sound country. Because we have one of the most enlightened parliament. The only problem is they are the people expending the money, they are the people allocating the money, and they are the people using the money. And then you add that to participating in government contracts, then it becomes a mixed bag. That is why it was very difficult for them to actually vote using their heads, because they have to vote using their bellies, because they go there to eat. You know, when money comes in, money is evil. It corrupts good morals. That is why some of them are still insisting, even if it comes back, I will still vote. Regardless that the president has said he has thrown it away, they are still insisting, because it was benefiting them. These extra monies, they knew they were going to get these monies in their bag, and they were to steal most of it. So that is where the problem lies. If we are going to go by that proposition, we need to amend that particular act to stop that, because we are not going to change anything in this country as long as public tenders, money is going to members of parliament's pockets. We are going to create a mess which is bigger than what we are dealing with right now.
Let me cut it short so that we can go for a short break. We'll be right back, but we'll be back to continue with this conversation about this bill. Don't go too far.
Sheria lazima kufuatwa.
Sheria gani?
Kila mtu asimamisha anachokifanya, biashara zote zifungwe.
Nitakuja kukuangalia, lakini sasa hivi nitakuja kuangalia baadaye, maana kitafaa kwenda kwa kutoza kwa kiongozi mpya.
Na kusudia kuimarisha uchumi wetu wa hapa Funzi. Imarike hivi kwamba tusiwe tena tukitegemea bodo.
Kama ni jasiri itabidi pale apaondoke, na kama ni huyo Sitara atafutiwe wazazi wake pale wako, arudishwe kwao.
Thank you for tuning in to Good Morning Kenya. We are talking about the conflict of interest bill that even the EACC has come out to say it will cripple the fight against corruption. Mr. Ireri Mwathi, what do you think of this?
I don't know why our leaders are not reading the signs of the day, because this bill is another trigger for Gen Zs to become more bitter. Because at the end of the day, the legislative arm of government is supposed to do oversight. So now I even give them the go-ahead to get the government tenders and all those things. That means what will they come to oversight? That means I get the tender. I'm the same person who is supposed to see that tender Mwananchi gets value for money. That means that conflict of interest, Mwananchi, if that passes and it goes on, that means that we shall be getting substandard services and nobody to oversight that. Number two, we understand that once you are a member of parliament, you have some responsibilities and you are closer to the powers of the day better than the a professional somewhere who is outside there. How are we going to compete with somebody who can enter into a ministry service and is given access before me just because he is a member of parliament, just because he is a senator or a governor? So that means these people have undue advantage, a more advantage of getting these tenders than the professionals who are supposed to do these jobs and do them perfectly. So if that goes on, it would mean in the near future we will be seeing substandard services to the people. It will mean that we are seeing everything that that is done as far as government tenders are concerned, rotating around the executive. And that means these people, it doesn't mean these people are qualified to do these tenders, but we will be seeing them, getting them, and then maybe sell them out to those people who are qualified to do this. This would mean more costs, because you are talking of the cost of the job and cost of giving it to the person who has given me the job. That means this is an area that should not come even at this time, because I am sure in a near future or in a communication of Gen Zs, we'll be seeing this triggering their egos and maybe even becoming more bitter about it. At the end of the day, let us know what to do and at what time. This bill that should not see the light of the day.
Daktari, all hope now lies with the National Assembly to overturn the changes within the conflict of interest bill. What do we foresee happening?
You see, Kenyans have lost a lot of trust with the members of parliament, especially the quote-unquote, the yes members of parliament. And just commenting on that headline, I think these things, these members of parliament, the executive, have always done this work through their proxies, and I think they are just tired of hiding, and they want to formally come on board and use their companies and their sons and daughters to do the business. So what they are writing there, I don't think is something that is supposed to be debated on and agreed on, but it's something that has been going on. And now, like I said, they are tired of the hiding part. They want to do those things and make them look genuine. And I think that is very selfish, because in our country today, you see any young person who wants to be a member of parliament, because ideally they're not even going for those salary packs. Because most of the time you see, when you see a member of parliament, even seated anywhere in the hotel, you know, when I sit here, my member of parliament is there, or whoever is there, ideally that person should pay my bill. You know, there's that culture we have about politics. So we really need to change a lot. But that has been happening. And according to me, if you ask me, you know, the other day I was seeing SRC trying to say that they are going to be an increment. I'm saying that's a very serious sabotage to the president. You're seeing what is going on. That's why these people who are just near the president, these people, quote unquote, who are working under the president and pledging their loyalty and everything, I think most of them are just so faked up. Because you are seeing what the country is going through. Who allows such a thing to even go to the news? Because you people, you are just given the news to air out what is from the spokesperson. In your right state of mind, these children are crying. These members of parliament, most of them, especially the young ones, the first timers in parliament, they're operating like socialites. You see somebody is walking, dancing, trying to show you my range, my what. What is all that? And then you are getting into TikTok, and then these people who are using their bundles have nothing, and they have better qualification than you, and they are aware. Those yes members of parliament are the biggest contributory factors to the Gen Z. Because, you know, you're coming to show hungry people how comfortable you are. And then that is the time you are coming to blot the news that, and then according to whoever is doing that, and then the next news, no, it has been turned down, to show Kenyans that at least we are with you. No, that is very big sabotage. Even what is there on that? Whoever gave out the news, the spokesperson, is it, what is his name, Mora? Yeah, that is a very bad job done. Because you cannot give such news when the country is bleeding. Unataka kuwaonyesha hawa sasa zile kazi tumekuwa tukifanya fiche, sasa tutaziondoa huku nje, tutakuwa tukizifanya. Can they understand the temperature and the vibrations of Kenyans today? And let them not separate what is happening with the Gen Z. Mtoto wa nyoka ni nyoka. These children are our children. The millennials and the Generation X. We are the parents of Gen Z. So let somebody not individually start to think that these children are on their own. They have backup from their parents. Save for their mothers who are so scared. You know, like me, I got so scared about the last Tuesday. I was praying on my knees. You know what? We do not want our children to be hurt. Right. We do not like that our country must go on fire for us to have a solution. Okay. We can have a solution without anybody dying, without anybody losing his or her property. We can still have what we want in a better way.
All right. Kiprono, one of the things that the EACC have said that if passed, this bill could shield public officials from accountability for mismanagement of public resources.
Definitely. The statement by the EACC is very right because, one, the conflict of interest bill that has been passed by the Senate is going to be a challenge. I think in our constitution, the makers of our constitution foresaw a situation whereby we could even give 30% of the government tenders to the youth. Now, you bring in the conflict of interest bill to ensure that you shield public servants. Most of them are the political class. You see, when we speak about public servants, there are some people who are not politicians. Most of them are political class. You shield them from accountability. I mean, take over situation or what's happening in our counties, where governors are opening companies, members of parliament also in their constituencies are opening construction companies to construct the CDF classes and everything, and even the roads in the area. Most of these tenders that are going to come out, if this bill is passed, are the tenders that the cost of the tender itself is going to be doubled. Because one, whenever we go to the ground, and I think also the way we have socialized ourselves as the people of Kenya is one of the challenging things. In my constituency in Sotik, is whereby whenever I see my member of parliament around, I expect kutuachia kitu kidogo, in quotes. Kutuachia that kitu kidogo, remember, constituency with a population of close to 130,000 people, you come to a village where there is 700 people, unawachia the kitu kidogo 700 people, which nowadays it doesn't come below 200 shillings per head. You multiply by 700 people, and then you look at the salaries of the members of parliament, it is not going to match up. So whatever is happening is that there is going to be doubling of the costs of these tenders, and it will shield them from accountability, because now the conflict of interest will set in. So what I want, the bill is in the National Assembly, and because the MPs have been visited by Gen Zs, most of them are, there was no show of members of parliament over the weekend in up country. So, because most of you have been visited by Gen Z, what I can just tell you, this thing, we are going to have a national conversation about this thing, because today, the good thing is that today, I even saw the person who was supporting this bill was an opposition senator. I don't want to mention his name. I don't have anything personal against him. I said the opposition is relevant, but the opposition now that is coming in is the youth. And if you're going to pass this bill, be rest assured, you're not going to have peace in the ground. We are going to visit you. We're going to visit your mothers. We're going to visit even your children. Yes, because, listen, by the time you fail to convince, you are done to drop some of the things that are hurting youth. A youth was telling me last week that, Kiprono, look at, I got a tender in a county government. I took a loan from a bank. They took this loan from the bank with the tender is the security. But the county government is going to take another 1 year to pay these bills. People are committing suicides in the ground because of the same mistakes that we are doing. Okay. So if we continue doing these mistakes, I mean, what will prevent the Gen Zs from visiting you? No, if you are a member of parliament.
What I would want you to the aspect of visiting, that amounts to a threat. The aspect of addressing issues as they are supposed to be addressed should be what drives what you are terming as Gen Z. The aspect of visiting.
What drives
talking about issues.
What drives the Gen Z's issues is because we have lost trust in the people we expected them to defend us. You cannot be able to be a contractor and at the same time go oversight the same contract. I mean, one of the things that, it's not about threatening. You've seen it happening. Okay? So what happens is we have lost faith. And I have urged my generation that because we have lost faith in these members of parliament, they still have 2.5 years in office.
Question is, how can they regain that faith from the Gen Z?
Because the Gen Zs are learned, once the trust is lost, regaining back that trust, even if I lose the trust in you, if you are my friend, regaining that trust is going to take another century so that I know you are the true person who can be my friend. So because we have lost the trust, the only way we can meet these people is come out in numbers. Come out in numbers. The president said he's going to ascend the IBC amendment bill into law. When IBC commissioners get appointed, I want to urge everyone, go to your IBC officers in the constituencies. Go register as voters so that tomorrow we have a conversation of, this is the scorecard. I elected you, you are a senator. I elected you, you are a governor. I elected you, you are an MCA. And show me, this was your manifesto because it's in the public domain. Yeah. What have you achieved? Yes. When the country was going to dogs because of the finance bill, how did you fought? So that we are able to use the right means to remove these people from power. Because anyway, these people are not going to trust these members of parliament anymore.
Thank you. And you have raised a very important aspect of regaining faith. Wakili, how does the parliament now henceforth regain the faith of the electorate?
I don't think there are other places that they can regain that faith. We just need this case to go. I'm sorry to say that. And the sooner they leave, the better, because, I mean, the demonstration is quite clear. The other day I saw senators, the same senators who have passed that very controversial bill, which, according to where I stand as a lawyer and a legal advisor, that is illegal. That's against, it goes against the spirit of the Constitution. And I'm hoping once the bill is done with, because we can't count on Parliament, we're going to go to court to have it abolished. And the President should not be able to assent to it if he is taking the vibe from the Generation Z demonstrations, because that is going to, it's going to be a recipe for disaster. Regaining, we should not be even talking about regaining. We don't have a parliament. We lost it long time ago. We don't have a parliament. And the problem which we are having right now as a country is because of parliament. If parliament was able to check the executive properly, we could not be having these demonstrations. So if parliament was able to bring accountability of the Ministry of Treasury, we could not be having these demonstrations.
Where did the rain start beating the legislature?
The rain started beating us. It has been beating us all through, slowly by slowly, but now it has reached the climax that we cannot be able to go back. As the Gen Z was saying, we have crossed the Rubicon. Yes. Because this discussion, that's why I was insisting earlier on in the discussion that we need to shepherd it in a particular way, and it's going to change this country. And the changing this country is harnessing the potential of Generation Z or the youth who are learned by having policies which are youth smart. If we are going to have such policies with the kind of constitution that we have, we are going to change this country tremendously. We are basically going to skyrocket from where we are to a first world country. But we need an able leader, we need an able executive, we need an able parliament. The problem has been those three. Once those things are sorted, our constitution is well in line to guide us to Canaan, which we have been yearning to go to. So if we are not going to have, if we are having the kind of crop of parliamentarians which we have, of course we are sure we are not going anywhere with these fellas. And they're not going to make any new policies. Because they're not going to change their heads. Unless they cut heads and put a different head, which thinks different, which is not possible. So we need to have a conversation of what is the role of parliament and whether parliament is fit for the purpose. It's not. President and his cabinet, let me also come to that. The president needs to also look at his cabinet, because this is the worst cabinet we have ever had since independence. If you look at the independence cabinet, they were well-landed guys, doctors. Even some of them were 28 years. The father to Senator Onyongo was 28 years and a doctor and a cabinet minister. Well-learned. But the kind of cabinet we have, I think it's only the president who is. And when you have your principal advisors being the people who know so little about what they can advise you, then we have a problem. And the president has admitted this publicly, that, you know, some of these people, he was actually telling them, some of you I know more than you in your ministries than you know. I don't know why I appointed you. So he should be able to take up the queue and fire these people, have people who are able to do the job. And I mean, the moment he does that, people will get out of the streets, we'll start having the economy taking the right shape. You've seen what has happened in South Africa. South Africa has been going through a financial crisis for the longest. But because of fiscal discipline and clear policies, they are reporting a surplus on the budget. We can be able to be there. We can actually get there because we have way lesser problems than South Africa. We only need the president and his cabinet, which is, of course, fit for purpose, to be able to take shape. And then we have to have a clear conversation with members of parliament. We need to kick these guys out like yesterday.
Okay, Daktari, naona you want to say something on this matter.
To add on top of what he's saying, because it's so realistic. One of it, I like to also point out, one of the senators is giving clear knowledge, like information, what really happens in the government coffers. And then this senator, I don't want to use his name here, he'll decide I have something personal. You come here and then it's like you are adding the Gen Z's content on what else they need to protest about. You see, these leaders are not solution-based. And I would say, if you are in government and you are still there as we speak, please don't come out and tell us anything. If you were part of any government from the back, be it in any portfolio, be it you are principal secretary, be it you are CS, you are what in the previous regimes, please do not come out and tell us anything. Shut up, allow the Gen Z to do their thing. They do not need your content. They need to do their thing because they have gone to school and they need jobs. So let them be warned. Be it in opposition, be it wherever. Don't tell us anything. If you have had any seat in this government, it doesn't matter when. If you have an in your right now, please don't add the Gen Z's content. They know how to get it. Something else I'd like to talk about, the mistrust about...
Time. We are out of... I'm told we are out of time, so 1 second.
Yeah, I would like to say is, the issue is we have duplication of funding. The expenditure in this country has a problem because of duplication of spending. The CDF kitty for the members of parliament, the MCAs have, the governors have. Why can't we, because of the devolved government? Why can we have this CDF, itolewe kwa our members of parliament? Their work is just legislation. The MCAs, their work to be legislation. The county government, the county boss remains the boss because which classes are you building? The governors are kitty. You have a kitty. So why are we having duplication of expenditures in the name of giving these people extra money to embezzle? Let us have 1 point of expenditure, and that is what is ailing this country.
All right.
The members of parliament don't need the CDF kitty.
All right. Thank you so much for making time for Good Morning Kenya. That is Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who is here, also who is a UDA Youth League. And also Dr. Evelyn Ogendo, political analyst, Gibson Gisoro, who is advocate of the High Court and political analyst, and Mr. Ireri Mwathi, who is also a political analyst, joining us here on Good Morning Kenya for Eye on Politics. This is where we cap matters politics. Don't go too far. Vivian Ndegwa is coming right back with transformative leaders. Stay with us.
Joseph Zuzat Murumbi was born in 1911 at Londiani, Kericho. Between 1941 and 1951, he worked for the administration of Somalia. Later on, he worked as the Assistant Secretary for the Movement for Colonial Freedom between 1951 and 1957. Upon the declaration of the state of emergency in 1952 and subsequent arrest and detention of the top leadership of the Kenya-Africa Union, Murumbi became the party's acting Secretary General. He played a key role in securing legal counsel for the core group of detainees, otherwise known as Kapenguria 6, among them Jomo Kenyatta, who would later become Kenya's founding president. In 1962, Murumbi became the KANU treasurer, and in the 1963 elections, he was elected to the House of Representatives for Nairobi South. In the first cabinet in 1963, he was appointed Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office in charge of foreign affairs. He was instrumental in forming the country's new constitution and was largely responsible for setting up the country's embassies, high commissions and consulates at the time of independence. In 1966, he was appointed Kenya's second vice president following the fallout between President Kenyatta and Vice President Odinga. In 1966, after only 7 months in office, he resigned. However, Kenyatta did not want Murumbi to leave government. Murumbi was succeeded by Moi, who went on to succeed Kenyatta upon his death in 1978. After buying his first collector's item at a shop in London in the early 1960s, Murumbi became an avid art collector. By the time he died in 1990, he had collected over 50,000 books and official correspondence. The Kenya National Archives has set up a library of 8,000 rare books published before 1900, which were entrusted to it by Murumbi. Murumbi co-founded the African Heritage with his wife Sheila and friend Alan Donovan. It has become Africa's largest Pan-African art gallery. Jackie Wimbiru, The Cabinet.
Hi, thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Kenya, and today being a Monday, you know that we normally have the segment of transformative leadership, and today we have a transformative leader with us, and we will be looking at effective leadership as a topic. He goes by the name Dr. John Mukundi, and he is the Director, Achievers College, Embu. Dr. Mukundi, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me in this particular program. I really appreciate, and good morning to our viewers.
It's a pleasure to have you on board. Now, if we can just begin with our topic, like directly with it, we're looking at effective leadership. So according to you, from just your eyes, who exactly is a leader?
Yeah, what I want to say is that a leader is somebody who really issues directives or direction and guides people in the way in which they should go, and also helps in decision making as far as his area is concerned. So what happens is that a leader is a person who leans from the front, and then other people follow him. He doesn't actually issue instructions, but what happens is that other people will see what he is doing, a role model, and somebody like that is actually what we would call a leader.
A leader.
Yes.
Is there a difference between a leader, just a leader, and an effective leader?
Yes,
or effective leadership?
Not all leaders are effective. You realize that there are some leaders who are not effective, and therefore there is a great difference between a leader and an effective leader. Reason is because you realize that there are some leaders who don't give good decisions, who do not give good direction. We cannot call those ones effective leaders. An effective leader is a person whose results will be seen by the level of the decisions and steps that he makes. Yeah, so that is what I want to say. And there is also a difference between a leader and a manager, because many a times we say managers are made, but leaders are born. But though we have a line of thought that also says otherwise. Yes.
Do you believe that leaders are born? Like there are people who are just born leaders?
Yes, we have a few people that are born leaders, and we also have some others who can make themselves leaders. Actually, you realize there are some people who are born, and some people will definitely follow them. You'll find some other people following them without actually even being told about anything. Like you realize that there are some people that you want to follow when you are in secondary school. They are not prefects, they are not anything, but just because of their charisma, just because of how they carry themselves, you realize what they tell you, just follow. So those are born leaders. But we also have some others that are not born leaders, they make them themselves.
All right. And on that note, we take a very short break. Don't you go too far, because when you come back, we'll be continuing with this conversation that we have today.
Unajua, token mita yako inahitaji system update. Ni rahisi na ni free. Ukipata ujumbe kutoka Kenya Power, yani SMS, weka kodi ya kwanza kureset, alafu weke kodi ya pili kuupdate. Update token mita yako. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Kenya Power and Lighting Company.
Wewe ni mjane mgani juu fashion?
Angalia Guksi. Ha? Kuna kitu wewe najua.
Crocodile leather fused with the Guinea python leather.
Unajua mali tunaenda leo?
Gapi?
Kumuona Mseo Chuang.
Sasa hivi leo tunaongea na wewe. Hata kuna quarter acre mbinguni.
Siku moja si amenituma nipeleke gash.
Kanyagio story.
Kwa saiti chiki.
Uko serious Mogs?
Fanya haraka sisi tutachelewa.
Hizi nguo kwani umezitoa wapi?
Ni za USA.
Hii unapatia mtu akiwa hai, upatie mtu kama amekufa?
Mama Kayai.
I love you.
Welcome back. Now, before we took that break, Dr. Mukundi was just explaining to us, there's a statement you made, which is a statement that is normally made out here, that managers are made, but leaders are born. But you explained to us that, yes, there are people who are born leaders, but you can also make leaders out of people that you might not have necessarily been born leaders.
Correct.
Yeah. Maybe what are some of the important qualities of an effective leader or effective leadership?
Yeah, and according to me, one of the most important qualities of an effective leader, first of all, is to have vision. You cannot really lead people when you are not visionary, because you cannot take people where you are not able to see. And vision is simply seeing the future in the present. So if you can be able to see the future in the present, then I think that is good vision. But the second thing that I would say is an essential quality of a very good leader is influence. You know, if you can, you tell people what to do and you are guiding them and there is no way they are following you, then you are not an effective leader. So you realize that for you to say you are an effective leader, then what happens is that you have to have that particular level of influence so that people can be able to follow you. But the other thing is about integrity. There are some other characters that you need to always have, like the integrity, honesty. You do not lead people in the wrong way, and therefore you need to have that, the integrity of the heart. Even the Bible says that David led people with the skills and with the integrity of the heart. So there is always that part of integrity in leadership. So every time you see things like corruption in leadership, they destroy the leadership. But also we are talking about the effective leader requires to be knowledgeable, because it is like you are influencing people and guiding people. And therefore there is no way you can guide people when you are not knowledgeable. We have seen some people who have been elected or nominated or appointed or even in church or any other place. They have gone into leadership without the knowledge of what they are meant to do and what the leadership entails. And therefore, such kind of a thing now becomes a problem, because there is no way you can lead people when you do not have that integrity. But more importantly is about decision making. You cannot have a leader who cannot make decisions, because life is about decision making. The best decisions you make, they will give you the best results, and the more your life shall move. And therefore, decision making is quite key as far as leadership is concerned. And decision making is the art of choosing between alternatives. So if you can be able to choose between alternatives very fast, then we can say you're a very good leader. Yes.
From all those essential qualities that you've mentioned, what is the threat of not having such? You know, what is the threat for an institution maybe that is being governed by a leader who does not, you know, have such?
If an institution is led by a leader who doesn't have those essential qualities, there is some danger. Number one, you realize such an institution may not really be in a position to grow as expected. Assuming the leader is not making good decisions, and assuming the leader is slow in decision making, it simply means the speed of the growth of such an institution, especially of expansion, especially of cash flows or anything like that, it doesn't really move as per the expectations. You also realize that such an institution, again, may be living in a way that people do not move in a certain direction. they are not pursuing their visions, there is what we call sub-optimization, where everybody is pulling in a different direction. And you realize that there are some people, because they lack leadership, they will pull in different directions. And therefore the energies, instead of being pulled towards a certain common goal, you realize those energies will be pulled in different directions, and therefore that organization may not really move the way it is meant to move. But also you realize that the organization may lose even revenue and may have some cost impact as far as band leadership is concerned. And that is why we need to actually ask ourselves, do we have good leadership? Because band leadership will bring about some band cost, especially things like what? Especially things like when there is no integrity. It simply means that when the integrity is not there, then we may have losses, especially due to corruption, due to such kind of things, and that will bring the organization down. The cash flows, the assets will get lost, and all those other things, they would definitely not be taken care of in the organization. Yeah, such are the dangers that loom such a kind of an organization that may not have such a good leadership. Yes.
All right, now, of course, decision making is one of the very most important things when it comes to effective leadership. So when you talk about decision making, how do you go about decision making? For example, for someone like you who's heading an institution, that is the Achievers College. So how do you go about decision making?
Yeah, decision making is one of the most important things. And as I have said earlier, decision making is that art of choosing between alternatives. You have two alternatives and you decide which one you're going to take. And decision making is quite important because you cannot live without a decision. Even coming here, it took a decision. Even talking, the topic that we are talking about, they has taken a decision.
True.
And therefore, decision making is what causes people move. The quality of your decision determines the quality of your life. That simply means even the life of an institution is determined by the decision making that they are being made in such an institution. And therefore, in decision making, you have to learn that art very well. Because some people just make decisions without thinking a lot about it. So the first thing is to ask yourself, which problem are you solving when you want to make a decision? Do you have a problem that you want to solve? Once you know which problem you are about to solve, then outrightly you gather some information. Because decisions are made effective by the accuracy and the vastness of the information that you have. It simply means if you do not have adequate information, you're bound to make wrong decision. If you have inaccurate information, you're bound to make also a wrong decision. That means you are supposed to make, to actually collect good information that will enable you to make right decision. Then I think the third thing that I usually do is to check the alternatives that are available. And then I ask myself, what is this that I want to solve? So if you check the alternatives available, the ways and the decisions available, then you can be able to choose the best alternative. And that information now assists you to choose the best alternative that you can be able to choose. And then from there you apply the action that you have, the alternative that you have taken. Once you apply, then you check whether if you made a wrong decision, or if you made the right decision. Now, many people fear to make decisions simply because they think that they will make wrong decisions. Like you find people even not marrying because they think that they will marry the wrong person. But you realize that when you make a wrong decision, it is decisions again that will help you to make the right decision. So people should not fear making wrong decision, because you can also make the right decision to get you out of the wrong decision. So those are some of the things that I may definitely see. Yeah.
All right. And now, being a leader, of course, is not a walk in the park.
Yeah.
You have tasks upon tasks upon tasks. So how do you go about prioritizing tasks as an effective leader? You know, how do you go about prioritizing tasks and also delegating responsibilities?
Yeah, as far as priority is concerned, I totally believe that we need to get to know which priority to take by a number of parameters. One of the things that I will usually think is actually asking myself, what are the cost implications of the task? Because the cost is actually one of the key things that will make you choose a certain thing over the other. And you need to know that those things that have less tasks, that have less cost, they cannot affect you a lot economically. But those things that will have a bigger task implication, they can affect you and even your organization to go under. So as far as that task, which one should I do first? I think the first thing I need to consider is the cost implication of such a thing. Then the second thing that I want to consider is the people it is affecting. Like supposing you're in an organization and you want to close down a certain particular line, like you're in manufacturing. How many people will get sacked as a result of that decision? You have to actually think around and ask yourself, who are these people that will get affected by whatever I'm doing? And once you make such a decision, then you will be in a position to know whether it is worthwhile to do it or whether it is not worthwhile. Then also as far as the tasks are concerned, then you need to ask yourself, is it also legal or not legal? Because obviously you realize there are some things that will cause some legal implications and there are others that will not cause. So I totally believe some of those things are very, very important as far as prioritizing the task are concerned. But also there are some other techniques in which you prioritize tasks, like are they important, are they urgent? And such kind of things are very important when you're thinking what to do first and what to do second. And once you ask yourself that, you'll be able to know which one comes first, which one comes second. As far as delegation, delegation is when I let somebody do what I am meant to do. And I think delegation is quite important because we cannot be able to do all the things.
You can't be hands-on on everything.
You cannot, yes. So I believe that delegation is important, especially when you want to save some time for yourself. Because, you know, there are some other important things that you need to do. Like I can delegate now teaching in Achievers College because I need to go and supervise. So that one is good. So when it comes to delegation, you look at what is delegatable. There are some tasks that are not delegatable at all. The responsibility is all yours, and therefore you cannot be able to delegate such tasks. Like, you know, I cannot delegate directorship and ownership. So it is practically impossible for me to delegate that. It is not delegatable at all. But when it comes to issues about about accounting. That is when you need to delegate. So you check, number one, the importance of a task to you as the owner, and what is the substratum of that particular company. What is the most important for that company? Like you realize there are some things that are important, others are not important. So you do not delegate those things that they need you to do. And once you delegate them and people are wrong, then at that particular time you get it wrong. So I believe it is important to have such a guideline when it comes to issues about delegation.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, as we almost come to a close of this conversation for today, when leading a team of people, of course, conflicts and disagreements are inevitable. You are going to at least, have some conflicts or disagreements. So what is the best way to handle, conflicts and disagreements as an effective leader?
There is no way we can have an organization with more than 2 people and there is no conflict.
Sure.
Even in families, as husbands who lead their families, they also have conflicts. In churches, we have seen conflicts, and in mosques, and even in organizations, small or big, we usually have conflicts. And conflicts arise because of so many things, because of even personality. Those things are everywhere.
Yeah.
And for you to be in a position to solve a conflict, I think the best way it is first of all to determine the cause of the conflict. Once you determine the cause of the conflict, you'll be able to know where to start. But also, it is important to hear the two sides. There are some people who always listen to one side. It is important to hear both sides. It is important to know why the conflict is existing. Perhaps you even don't require to hear them. Once you understand the conflict, you'll be able to know what is the cause of the conflict, and you eliminate the cause, because it is causes that bring about the effects. And once you know that, you are able to talk to them, listen to them, let everybody have the fairness of being listened to, and then you set a platform in which they can be able to ventilate. And once they are able to ventilate, then I think the conflict will just go away. Like the recent conflict we had with the Gen Zs and the leaders. You realize the president just gave them a hearing and that was it. So I think one of the best ways to have somebody actually expressing what they have, then after expressing what they have, you listen to them, the actionable points you action them, and if they are saying this is what should be done, you do. What cannot be done, you do not do. It is an easier way of handling conflict. According to me, that is how I do it.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if you may just give us your parting shots as we finish.
Thank you so much because of inviting me. What I would want to tell my viewers is that leadership is what causes you to move to the next level. Decision making and influence is what causes you to grow your company to the next level. And every time you have good leadership, then you have good organization. And every time we have a bad leadership, we do not have a good organization. So leadership is key, and you can train leadership or you can be born with the leadership. Even in Achievers College, we can train you in matters leadership.
All right. Thank you so much for gracing our show today.
Thank you.
That was Dr. John Mukundi, the director, Achievers College, which is in Embu. Do not go too far, because Good Morning Kenya gets to continue, and I'll be coming back with another topic. And this time we will be looking at fake information or fake news. How do you go about dealing with fake news, especially in this digital era? Do not go too far.
Musa Sirma was born on July 17, 1961. He went to Kambimoy Primary School from 1969 to 1975 and Baringo High School for his O-level and later Njoro Boys High School for the A-level education. He later joined Egerton College, now Egerton University, for a diploma course in forestry where he graduated with a distinction. He then acquired a Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental Science from Mount Kenya University between 2013 to 2016. After college, from 1986 to 1997, he was employed as a district forest officer. It was while in this position between the late 1980s and mid-1990s that he owned a sawmill in the Mumberes area of Eldama Ravine, a clear conflict of interest for the man charged with the responsibility of preserving forests. He threw his heart in the ring for the new Eldama Ravine constituency and won on a KANU ticket in the 1997 general election. From 2010 to 2013, Sirma was appointed Minister for East Africa Cooperation. His appointment as Minister for East African Community in the dying days of the Government of National Unity under President Mwai Kibaki and Prime Minister Raila Odinga did not surprise many. In 2013, he tried to regain his old constituency seat on an ODM ticket but failed to stem the Ruto-led United Republican Party URP wave that was sweeping through the Rift Valley. In the 2017 elections, Sirma vied for the dominant Jubilee Party ticket but lost in the primaries. He then contested the seat as an independent candidate using the symbol of a buffalo, his clan's totem. He lost again. Not content with the results, he filed a petition to overturn the outcome, citing irregularities in the polls. After losing the petition and subsequent appeals, he took a low profile until July 2019, when he surfaced and declared that he had ditched DP Ruto and was joining KANU to support the former president's youngest son. Ironically, it was Sirma who hosted a big rally in 2006 that installed Ruto as a Kalenjin spokesman and blessed him through the famous Eldama Ravine Declaration to seek the highest office in the land through ODM.
All right, and you are just in time for our next conversation. And as I had mentioned earlier, we are looking at fake news or fake information. How exactly do we get to deal with fake news, especially on the internet, since we are living in that era where everything has gone digital? So how do you get to decode fake news? And joining me for this particular conversation is, I have two gentlemen with me. On my immediate right is John Mutunga, and John Mutunga is the founder, Cyber Pro Global, and my far right is Samuel Karaoke. Samuel is EduTech Manager, Cyber Pro. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Okay.
All right, when we're talking about fake news or fake information, this is generally just misleading info that is not factual, right? So how do we get to differ fake news or fake information from misinformation?
Okay. First of all, when you are dealing with fake news, we are talking of fake news as information that has not been verified, information whose sources are not factual. And so when you're talking of fake news, we should be aware that we may talk of misinformation and disinformation.
Yes.
When talking of misinformation, we are talking of information that was sent not necessarily to cause harm, but it was sent as a mistake maybe, but it sent the wrong message. But when we're talking of disinformation, this information was sent with an intent to cause harm. Maybe there was some monetary gain to gain out of it. So when trying to like solve this issue, number one, let's say it's information, let's say it's in an organizational setup. You'll need to educate your people. You need to educate them that in order to authenticate this particular source, go to this site. This site is a legit one. Don't use this other site. So education is a very important stuff when talking about how to decipher fake news and legit news.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And still on that, maybe to you, John, how do we decode, fake news exactly?
Thank you. Mostly I would say information which is sent to the public or which is published for the view of the public, the only way you can decode is knowing the right information. And the only way you can know the right information is by being informed first. If you are not informed, you must be inquisitive. You must choose to distrust the information which is on, you are either perceiving or receiving or which is being pushed to you. You must decode it, you must understand it, you must distrust it, and that's when you will be able to walk above the fake news. Yeah. Without the knowledge of decoding, you might just absorb every information which comes to you. Only data that comes to you, you might just take it as a positive data and take action about it, and then there are detrimental acts about it. Yeah.
And in line with that, as I mentioned, we're living in a digital era. Information is always on the tip of our hands. All you need is just to have a phone with you, and you can get any kind of information, and all that it takes to like share fake news is just a simple thing. Just share. And the next person will also share and share. So do we really have the time to fact check? And how can one go about fact checking before maybe sharing information? Okay,
it's for a fact that most of the social media sites we have, they are like engineered to like the trending stuff is the one which will come first.
Yes.
For example, let's talk about Twitter. When you're talking of Twitter and I want the word ABC to trend, I'll just tell multiple people, please key in the word ABC, ABC, ABC. But that word ABC, it doesn't necessarily mean that the word is, maybe ABC is not necessarily the legit news. It can be a fake news. Yeah. But using these certain social media sites, what I'm trying to say is that some social media sites are like structured. You can't be able to really tell what is factual and what is fake. So it's upon you to research it for yourself from the legit sources. For example, if it's anything to do with cybersecurity, maybe like the company CyberPro Global, we are good in cybersecurity. Go research based on cybersecurity with CyberPro Global. Or if it's another company, let's say maybe it's banks and you trust Equity, you only deal with Equity, but not just any other source of information. So it's really important that you know the sites that you're visiting and the legit ones in that case. Yeah.
Now, clearly, social media is one of the places where fake news easily gets to spread, So how exactly can we go about combating that spread of fake news or fake information, specifically on social media?
I'll think on that. I will just say, I didn't say this. Most of the social medias were built for the sake of, I would not say fake news, I would say disinformation. The social media platforms, most of them feed people with disinformation.
You feel like they were specifically made to disinform?
To disinform, because if people knew how truly you are, they would not read about your story. So you go to a place whereby you're only alone, you feed the information of the place, of what you are doing, and you put only the good part of what you are doing. and then everybody absorbs that and takes that as the right information about who you are. And the only way, one of the ways to debunk that is first to create a kind of a national commitment to whatever you are doing, knowing that there are things you cannot just put online. There are people you cannot talk about online. There are areas of patriotism you cannot discuss on social media. And when I talk about patriotism, I'm talking about be able to love your country enough not to talk about some stuff which you think it's devaluing the nation itself. You have to love. If somebody says something like somebody just writes like something like 500 people die in I would say Lake Tugen or something like that, on a bus to a funeral, and the first thing you will think about 500 people in a bus on a lake at Tugen, those things don't exist. It's very easy if you distrust everything you see online before you first absorb it. It's very easy for you to be able to identify fake news. They always come as fake, and it is easy to tell, but people usually look at the person who sent the news. If your cousin sent you the news and your uncle is the one who distributed, you just look at the chain of distribution and quickly absorb the news and take it as a national news. And sometimes it hurts people, sometimes it devalues people, sometimes it's just propaganda. And when I talk about propaganda, it's with political gain, either to lose an opponent or to fight an opponent over the media. The best approach to information is to educate yourself with the right information, educate yourself with the right content, and absorb the right content, and you'll be able to debunk what is wrong and what is right at the first instance. There's also an issue of influencers. The influencers are the guys who are paid specifically to push agenda, whether it is for profit or for just for fun. So the society must be very sensitive, must be careful about information that is coming from social media and it has an influencer tagged to it. You might find that somebody is selling, I wouldn't want to give a live example of an instrument that is used to clean a car, and the instrument looks like it's a big bottle of an instrument, but an influencer is saying this is a 2 kilograms of products built up with this product, and then you end up buying that thing, and when they deliver to you, you just find it's a very small thing, and it's not worth the amount of money which you paid, and you feel like you just dug yourself in. So the best approach is be informed and ask people whether is this true, is this information true, before you even comment about anything you see online. If you don't trust it, ask someone else. Be somebody who is inquisitive. Carry the act of zero trust. We find that zero trust platform has really helped people to achieve things which they could have lost a lot of monetary value or their essence of life. But if you don't trust everything, you'll be able to trust something which is legit. Thank you.
All right. You know, looking at the situation that the country is in right now, where we have leaders having issues or having problems with the younger generation, specifically the Gen Zs, you know, it's so easy for one to just use social media to disinform people. You know, just use it to disinform, and it could cause so much harm. And, you know, when it comes to digital, you know, and social media, to be specific, most of the times you don't even know where this information is originating from. You know, because sometimes one can just use a pseudo account and put it out there. So is there a way to just, can someone actually follow a pseudo account and get to the actual person, you know, ICT-wise?
ICT-wise is very possible.
IT-wise,
IT-wise is very possible. The security organs of the nation are able to follow you up and know where you're located, which IP addresses you're using, which equipment you're using for spreading the news. And one thing we could say, it's easily that everything that is online is always being watched, whatever you place online. But sometimes people check, and even the security organs check and say this is of no importance. But there's a level of, like I said, patriotism. There's a level of love for your nation whereby you cannot spread some news because you know the effect of those news. There are things, even as we talk about free press and the gutter press and the
freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. There are things that if you love your nation enough, there are things you cannot even say online. And that is the first thing which will change our nation. By first loving your nation enough to look at what's the effect of this information I'm putting online. What will happen if this goes through? Are you educated enough to understand that whatever you are putting online might have a detrimental effect even on a child? For example, somebody takes a photo of a child who has been hit by a car and puts it online. For what purpose are you put it online? To tell the other guys that Kenyatta Avenue is not good for cars to pass through? It's just, some information we share online is of no importance.
All
it's
right,
just
allow me to cut you short.
Yes.
We take a short commercial break and then we come back.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for joining us on Healthy Living. Stay connected to Voice of America at voanews.com. A look at your kidneys and how they impact your health. And an expert discusses chronic kidney disease and how to protect yourself. And Ivorian psychologist Noor Bakayoko shares some insights on bullying and what can be done.
It's important to avoid major events or major health crises.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, to you, Samuel, are there red flags that one can just see from the get-go and know that, I think this source is not really credible, or this information that is being spread here is not factual?
Yeah, there are red flags. For example, we are talking of news. We are used to that, let's say, for example, KBC is the one which we are used to receiving news from, the legit news from the government. But then all of a sudden, you see there's another site or there's another TV station that you people never knew, but it's giving the same news. That one you need now to you need to do a factual check and check, by the way, the credible source that I know is KBC. But in this case, I'm getting news from another person. And we should also be aware that most of the people who usually bring the fake news or they misinform others, they normally use the trick in cybersecurity. We normally talk of it as social engineering, whereby you just lure someone by some common thing that you expect the person to maybe to be able to click, for the person to click to gain something or something of the sort. So it's very possible for you to know if something is real or if something is fake by just factual checking at the source. Yeah, so the source can really tell you.
Yeah. Maybe what are some of the fact-checking resources that are there?
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about fact-checking. How does one go about doing that?
Now, when you are talking of, let's say, for example, you're talking of websites, there's this good site called woes.com. Woes.com tries to tell you, for example, it's a certain domain. You can just search for a certain domain and just tell, who is the owner of this domain? Is it a legit site? So you can be able to tell. Also, there are other sites, for example, like Virus Total in cybersecurity. It can tell you, by the way, has this site been reported for any phishing? Has any phishing ever happened? So you can tell by using tools like Whois, Virus Total, yes.
Yeah. Okay. John, I would love you to take me through the process of evaluating, the credibility of a source.
Different informations come to people with different kind of attachments. For example, if you are looking at a content which is political, you first need to know the source of the content. Who wrote the content first? How long has it been in the media platform? For example, you might find a content which has been running for the last 3 days, and nobody is talking anything negative about it. Everybody is supporting the motion and talking about whatever is happening in the country today. For example, I wouldn't want to use Kenya as an example. I would use US. We'll be talking about the status of the last debate between Trump and his friend. And the information coming from there is one guy was goofy, the other one was doing so well. And you want to see what is the mainstream media talking about it, not the gutter press. Mainstream media, it's like you want to know what CNN is talking about, what Fox News is talking about. And that, by knowing what they are talking about, you'll be able to place yourself in a place whereby you can comment about the situation in that country at that time, or the situation of the information which you are receiving. Another thing is carrying the heart of zero trust, which I talked before. Carrying the heart of zero trust helps you to quickly decode any information which you find it's not, which you feel it's not correct. But I don't know how you'd go online, find a guy who is selling a car at 300,000, and you don't have a way to compare what's the price of the cars in the market at that time. You could easily be siphoned of your money by just picking up the news and putting it up as you are. And even people end up paying. And you ask somebody, why did you pay? I didn't know why I paid, because this guy was very convincing and the information is put. Sometimes people even put information. We had a case whereby somebody traveled from here to Kisumu to just go and collect a car which was virtual and it was not there. No. And he finds there, the guy changes his mind and says, I'm in Mombasa. I wasn't actually in Kisumu. I told you I was in Mombasa. So get informed, educate yourself with how media trades work. Again, we also look at the state of the government. The government needs to put statistics in place whereby we could have somewhere where you can post news which you feel like this news is not correct. That's very necessary, to have a place whereby you can post news which you feel it's not true news. And then quickly that platform should be able to report to you, this is fake, this did not happen, this happened, and this is true, it happened. Because based on that, we'll be able to decode the power of the media campaigns, whereby people are paid to spread the wrong news and people are paid to post wrong news. Like of late, I've realized every time something is the hot news in the nation, somebody places an advert there which is not even part of the hot news. And you wonder, this advert is supposed to pick up people and divert them to their products or to their services. So being informed is very important, and we are working as a company, we work on developing a kind of a media knowledge of the status of the security solutions in the country. And we are involved in training people to understand how to even decode this information. We are involved in building a culture of people who love their nation and understand things which they can put on social media. Some of them might not help, and even helping people decode the social media information as fast as they know them. So you would fall into the trap of just picking up everything that is thrown to you and keep on disturbing it and distributing it. That's what we work for. We work for developing that kind of architecture in people's minds, an ecosystem whereby you'll understand what is true and what is false. I'll give an example of a biblical thing which happened in the country, in Israel a long time ago. And these guys were sent, 12 people were sent to go and bring news about a certain country. They come back and say the people of that country are very big, they're even 10 times bigger than us. Only 2 guys gave the right information. The other 10 gave wrong information. We need to be among the 2 people who understand the right information. When it is posted online, you easily can decode it. And you can only learn that by reading, by studying, by educating yourself, and put yourself in a group of people who speak the truth, so you can decode the lie. Thank you.
All right, Samuel, maybe who is responsible in ensuring that the info being put out there is factual?
Okay. Who is responsible? I would say the social media sites.
For example, I would say for me to make sure that fake news do not spread, I would say the social media side should allow us to be able to report fake news. So after I've reported the fake news, the social media site itself will be able to flag
we are
it
having
down.
a problem with your mic, so maybe John can get into that as they check on your mic. So who exactly is responsible?
The individual who is posting the next post is the one who is responsible. The source of the information is also responsible. But most of this information, some of it is not, it does not damage a lot. It only damages sometimes reputation, sometimes damages the state of the nation, sometimes damages the... There are things which will be posted and we realize the guy who posted is dumb. He's not a smart person. There are things which will be... Like, we have a case whereby a Kenyan person will say, my name is Kinodia or Ajiru, and then puts a photo of a Chinese. And you ask yourself, why would you do that? And you are trying to show that you have a connection between Kenya and China, and this is the real you. If somebody picks that information and shares it again, you definitely don't know what you're doing. So the best thing is we hold people responsible for what they are saying online. And if we hold people responsible, it's very easy for somebody to say, I'm not going to share this because I don't know who is going to come after me after this. Yeah. So the person who shares the next share must be the one who is responsible for the whole distribution of the information. Sometimes it's political and it's propaganda and just wants to tear down one person, another one wins. That's unacceptable. But it's not acceptable in a case whereby, we had a case whereby somebody said, if you give me this, I'm even going to change the voice of the media. And I asked them, so who will be responsible for changing the voice of the media? Even the press print will be saying number 2 is winning and number 1 is losing. And you ask yourself, how do you get to that level by changing the voice of the media online, not physically? It's by hiring like 2,000 people to post wrong story about one person, so that people might have negative impacts, might have negative perception about the person. So the person who shares next must be the one who is responsible. Sometimes it's only the sometimes the source of the information is also responsible for it. Yeah. So,
sorry, Samuel, you can carry on with your point. Who exactly do you feel is responsible?
I actually can't say who exactly, but I can say the people who take part in this ecosystem. Because remember, we have the social media site, which is a platform, and we have the people who are posting. So we have two parties, and the two parties, they play a very important role in disseminating this news. So on the part of the people, as John has said, the people should be held liable for what they are posting. But now when talking of the social media sites, I was now saying the social media sites should also give us the platform for us to be able to report fake news. For example, Twitter, I've seen they have implemented that actually. You can see that maybe there's something that has been reposted, and then you see has been retweeted, and then you can see there below it has been written. They can just write there a context. Context, people have put this one, maybe it's fake or something of the sort. Yeah, so the sites also, they play a very important role.
Now, I want to carry on with that, You know, every choice must have a consequence. You know, and are people usually held liable for spreading fake news, specifically in this country? Have you heard of people who, is it punishable? Are people being punished for that? Because as you mentioned, even when one uses a pseudo account, you said with IT, someone can actually locate who exactly is behind that pseudo account. So has it been punishable?
Most times it's possible to punish someone, either physically or even through the social media. For example, you write something which is wrong and somebody exposes you who you are, and then you are able to be found. And sometimes it's just exposed that you are telling a lie. Nobody wants to be exposed that is lying. Every time you expose somebody that is lying, they feel bad. So the only way we can say people are able to be punishable, sometimes there are issues of national security, which now that is punishable by the government. But I feel that for total collaboration with even the the society itself, the civil society, the government, and even the academia itself. We are all responsible for what people are consuming, especially in the social media. Whatever we are consuming, all of these three people are concerned. For example, the civil society is supposed to be the advocacy for the public and talking about what is bad for them. If information which is coming from them is also not true, and it's not a real information, then they should be held responsible. And maybe there's a law that decodes that also. There are also regulations which I think the government is putting in place on issues of cyber and cyber espionage and the political and the cyber war and things like the invisible war, I would call it like that. The whole social media is war by itself. It's a platform for every kind of, it's a platform for governance, it's a platform for education, it's a platform for religion, it's a platform for even for raising up kids. So we can't say that you'll be punished for telling parents how to dress their kids when they are going for a certain game, even if something happens while they were there. But you should hold yourself first responsible and punish yourself first. But if you give out a wrong advice in the media and it does not make sense, or it affects the other party. So part of it, I would say there would be need for regulations, which I think 50 they are not there. There will be need for inclusivity of building a national strategy for information online, data online, and data protection, which I think is there, but it's not deceived by the public. I feel also there is need for inclusivity of the academia, mostly, because we would say 50% of the active guys in the social media are the guys in school, are the guys who are in the academic industry. It's possible for the people in academia to learn and decode and even de-escalate information that is not correct. Like you write something wrong and these guys will tear it down and tell you this is not right. And even if you say X will say, if everybody is saying it is not right, X says this is not right and you are supposed to remove it. Many times I've commented things online and it is removed by X and I have to write why I wrote it like that. So some part of the punishment, some of them are physical, others are not implementable, but others are implementable, even through the government. You can be followed up and imprisoned for saying something which is not right. Sometimes I even see stuff online and I ask myself, where can somebody just go and get this guy, tell him to explain what he's truly saying? Some information is not patriotic, some information doesn't change the nation, some information does not even build the nation.
What is the impact, general impact of fake news?
The general impact of fake news is that it can make people do its effect. For example, I've told you maybe, you know, I remember when back then, I was hearing of news that people were saying that Jesus is coming. Then you had everyone now started reacting, selling shambas, doing such things. So your fake news can make other people do things which they were not intended to do, but it is really bad news. So its effect, it can affect negatively.
Maybe how can media organizations, because they are responsible with putting out information out there, how can media organizations and technology companies work together to combat, this vice?
There is a media council which vets what you are putting in the press. There is also the education list. The people who are training, the people who are going to work to the media council. I think there are rules which are governing the code of ethics and how to work. And if information is not correct, it's possible tomorrow to be on the news that this information was passed on by this media house and it is not correct. I feel that it's one of the ways having a unifying point whereby information is vetted before it goes to across Africa. I would not say even in Kenya, across Africa. You cannot write something like April 14, April 1 every day. So everybody knows April 1, everybody writes a fool's thing. But you cannot write a fool's thing every day. Every day. Sometimes I feel like one day the media should just wake up and say, today we don't have news. and just pass over the day. They don't have news. What would happen even today, even if one day KBC just said, today we don't have news for 9 o'clock because we don't want to tell a lie. Today we just decided we don't have news. All the news was just one item. The rest we just go and have some advertisements. Why? Because people right now are informed of what is happening, but people are not sure whether what is happening is the 100% the truth. And sometimes the media houses get the information from X, even get information from Facebook, and put it as the main information. Is there a place whereby all of them could unite and say, vet this information, whether it is correct? Is it true? Should we put it online? Is it possible to have that? And then that will come only by education, by knowing that what is the effect of what you have said? What is the effect if we print this? What will be the effect of the people? Because people is the most important thing for everything. What will be the effect of what if we print this information, we put it on the media, what will be the effect? Look at the effect even in 10 years to come. For example, somebody is complaining that for the last many years, children in school have been learning about the books they have been reading about political status of a country. I would say even the person who printed people like Francis Buga, Man of Kafira, Bito in the city, they end up building up a child who is not complete. And we might end up having kids who are not even complete later. People who are thinking about politics and fighting the government and not loving your nation. And maybe in 5 years, everybody will just be provoked and they riot. So you look at what is the effect of the information you are passing to the public, and whether that effect might be detrimental even to your own kids. That will help so much if people could vet and decide that I'm not going to write this because maybe if kids in school read it, they may practice it 2 years to come or 3 years to come. Look at the detriment of whatever you are putting online and then try to control that. That would be perfect.
All right, and just to put it out there, KBC journalists are well trained and their Media Council of Kenya accredited, just to put it out there. Well, what are some of the effective ways of correcting, info that had already been put out there? It is fake news. It's fake information. It's already been spread. How do you go about, what are the effective ways of correcting that? And it's already out there.
Okay, if the news is already out there and you have already known the source that took it was the fake source. Now, to do a reverse of it, I think the best part over here is now the credible source must now say, okay, what was said before was wrong, but me as a credible source, I'll put this as a legit news. So it's very important for the credible sources or the legit sources to state their stand on that particular news.
Maybe I comment on that. There is the same thing we said, influence campaigns. If information is out in public and it is not correct, you need to de-escalate the information, the state of the information. And some of the areas of de-escalation is influence campaigns. And I know the media knows how to bring that up and tear it down and make it look better than it was published. But it is good for the public to realize if the people say you are bad in this aspect, why don't you do something good to cancel the bad? If something is written online, you can get your friends to just say it is not correct. There's nothing wrong like that. I've been involved with the march with the Middle East, and I know much of what is happening in the Middle East. And I found myself as a voice to de-escalate issues which touch Africa and touch Middle East, because most of what we train comes from Middle East, and we train much on cyber security and media and stuff. And I find it so important that if there is so much bad information about you, about an organization, about you, about a situation in the status of the country, you have to do something to de-escalate the status. One of the ways is speak positive about it, put conferences and speak about good things happening in the world of whatever you are doing. De-escalation is one way of fighting wars and fighting media wars. By de-escalating, you'll have to create a positive image of the negative image which was put forward. And I think that works so well.
Okay.
The escalate is just try to make it look easy, make it look not difficult, and try to negotiate even with the person who is spreading the fake news and tell them, for sure you don't have to do this, it is building bad reputation for the country and even for the people. And people usually listen and they change their face. I remember last week, this vocal guy of South Africa was asked, why is it that whenever you're in the media houses and you're talking, you are very composed and polite, but when you're in the public at the parliament, you make so much noise? And this guy said, in the parliament, I only have 5 minutes, so I have to be so loud so I can be heard and so that my idea can be passed on to the public. But in the media house, I'm compelled to speak whatever I want, and it doesn't bring issues. So he's good at media house and violent at the parliament. Some people use that as their defense mechanism. One, you can de-escalate that or devalue that for the sake of peace. Thank you.
Okay. Now, before we come to a close of this conversation, how will the advancements in AI, because now AI is already here with us, how will the advancements in AI affect the spread of fake news in future?
The advancements of AI will highly affect it. Because when talking of deep fake, negatively, very highly. Because when we're talking of deep fakes, we have heard of deep fake videos whereby you can see the president is speaking, but it's not really him. Such things. And so in such stuff, it's very critical that we as maybe now the cybersecurity industry, the IT industry, we come together and talk about it. For example, we as a company, we have a conference called the Cyber Week Africa Conference that it's coming. So we should we talk all about these issues and how to solve them. For example, AI. AI will bring up the issue now of fake news will not be rampant because many people will not be making news using the deep fakes. So it's very important that we as the industry, we sit down and come up with solutions about them. Yes.
Maybe if you can add on to that, as you also tell us, maybe just projecting, what are the potential solutions to address such, specifically when it comes to AI?
I'll a little bit disagree with him, and we can fight after this. But people are trying to push AI as one of the main things that will fight and will cause the world to be a worse place to live in. But
is it not true?
It's not true. AI will not affect not make the world a worse place. If you remember, the old guys used to drive cars which you want to put gears. Now cars are automatic. Now they have even brought in cars which run by AI and they don't need a driver. AI will make things better. So with AI, you'll publish a wrong content. AI will be able to decode the code and realize its code and take it down. With AI, we'll be able to send positive information to wherever we want. Despite its presence, we will still have control of whatever it's doing. The only thing it will do good things quickly and bad things quickly. And
But
that's
still,
where we will fight.
You know, when you talk about that, you say that it will actually help in maybe decoding, you know, some of this. But I'm sure that by now, I don't know if Samuel will agree with me, I have already seen, you know, a clip where they assume this person is talking. For example, it's Vivian, and I'm talking about something, and it's definitely not me. Like, it's already there. They've taken your voice because your voice is out here on social media. You know, when we finish this interview, this clip will be on YouTube, you know, so they can easily pick my voice on YouTube and just have it as me. My face is already here. It's on screen and all that. So when you say that it will actually help, I would say that it has the negative side. So that's why I was asking if there are potential solutions to address that.
At advanced countries, every machine learning, they are building a next to machine learning to monitor the machine that is learning. So the code which is placed on this and the bots which are running this machine have another bot which is watching over that one. So at the same pace they are running, each one is watching the other one. Because right now we know AI can easily, robots can defy what you want them to do. They can do the opposite of what you want to do. But as human race, and I tell people that the AI will just make things better and faster. And we have control of whether it's bad or worse or worse. We have control of that. the fear which we are placed of by the fake news is that AI is going to annihilate us and going to keep us.
So you're saying we have consumed fake news on AI?
We have already consumed the fake news on AI because I believe cars will be made easier, people will be able to communicate easier. I'm now able to talk to somebody who is in Afghanistan face to face. I wouldn't want anything like that to pass through my... So everybody should build his life knowing that technology is coming to help us do things better and faster, and we will control whether it is going to be. Only that if it lands in the wrong hands. For example, I sat on a meeting whereby somebody was talking about building an aircraft and how they print. Sorry, I used the word print, but that's the exact word they use. They print an aircraft wing. One wing of the aircraft is printed. And then somebody hacks the system and they cuts the wing in the middle and just builds it the way it is, but it has a crack. So after some time, the wing breaks up, and you have to repeat all what you did. So there will be good people try to stand and bad people try to help. And many try to shut it down. Many times, good people always win. We have to know that because good people are more than the bad people. And many times, the bad people make so much noise until you think they are more than us. We are more than them.
Right.
On September 23rd, we have a conference at the University of Nairobi talking about such a thing. I would invite everyone in the nation to come. September 23rd is called the Africa Cyber Week Conference, which is a yearly conference. We are talking about cyber, AI, artificial intelligence, invisible war, and things like cyber security as a military warfare. Those are things we are talking about. And building an ecosystem and bridging cyber security skills gap and opportunities in the cyber security industry. That's what we are doing.
Okay, that's very important information right there. I hope that they have received your invite and they will show up in September. Now, this is where we end our conversation for today. We will definitely create time. I feel like we've gotten a topic for another day. That is on AI, because I feel like we really need to talk about AI because there's misinformation out there on AI. So we'll create time for that. Thank you so much, John Mutunga. Thank you so much, Samuel Karaoke, for joining us for this conversation. And this is where we put a cap to today's Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who has been tuned on the show. My name is Vivian Dagwa. Until next time, do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.
Choma